if we just believe is all it takes. One life is all that I have, but I'll give it all away. One love can break down the walls, can open the gates and set us free. One love hung all of my sin and all of my shame on a tree. One love made it possible for you and I to change the world. One love. One act of kindness, one open door could be the moment that she's been waiting for. One act of courage, one selfless thought could be the difference that heals a broken heart. One love, one love can break down the walls, can open the gates and set us free. One love for all of my sin and all of my shame on a tree. Whoa, one love can break down the walls, can open the gates and set us free. One love on all of my sin and all of my shame on a tree. One love made it possible for you and I to change the world. One love made it possible for you and I to change the world. One love. One love.
WGGH supports local artists.
Holman with Shotgun Moment.
I've watched the weight on the scale hang. I've stood on both sides of the line, holding the door for my sin. I've tipped my hat in my chin, and stepping inside there was a shotgun moment, and I'm not proud of it. I've been racing my time I'm losing. It was a shotgun moment and I'm not proud of it. I've been racing my flesh and I haven't won yet. I was a god alone without a thought on throne, but now I have to confess I got myself in this mess. It was a shotgun moment and I'm not proud of it. I've been racing my flesh and I haven't won yet. I was a god alone without a thought on throne, but now I have to confess I got myself in this mess.
Listen throughout the day for Southern Illinois local music.
This is Chuck Williamson.
One love.
Hey, this is Josh, the Cadillac Jones Band.
This is my kind of Friday night. Turn up the radio.
We're top and bottom.
It's all about us.
Hey y'all, this is Eli Teller.
Of that country girl touch.
Want to get your local and original music heard on Monster Radio? Just go to WGGH.net for more info.
Hi, it's Jason Benetti for ready.illinois.gov with a message about emergency planning for the thousands of Illinois citizens with functional needs. Every one of us needs a disaster plan for ourselves, our families, even our pets, but the plan in the emergency disaster kit may look a lot different for those with functional needs. At ready.illinois.gov, you'll find tips for designing an emergency disaster plan and building an actual emergency disaster kit. Whether you or someone you know is affected by cognitive, mobility, or visual disabilities, has mental health or substance abuse issues, is deaf and or has substantial hearing loss, ready.illinois.gov has the answers. There's even guidance for those who rely on life support systems and for persons who use service animals. And yes, ready.illinois.gov has great tips for seniors too. Even tips for pet owners. If you or someone you know has functional needs, or for that matter, you have yet to make your own disaster planner kit, visit ready.illinois.gov. That's ready.illinois.gov.
Sponsored by the Illinois Emergency Management Agency.
Hello and welcome back to the Ronnie Deutsch Tax Program. On the line is Paul from California. Hi, Paul. What's your tax problem today?
Hi, Ronnie. Love your show. Listen, I've got a big problem. You see, my paycheck was garnished last week, and I'm only getting half the normal amount. To make matters worse, the IRS froze my bank account. Listen, I'm embarrassed and scared. I need some help.
Listen, Paul, you don't need to feel embarrassed. You just need some tax help. And the great news is the IRS has some unbelievable programs that can eliminate your tax debt so you don't have to worry about having your paycheck garnished or your bank levied. Doesn't that sound great?
It sure does, Ronnie.
Then do yourself a huge favor and get a free consultation right now and tell them the tax lady sent you.
If you owe the IRS $10,000 or more, call now. 800-471-8817. 800-471-8817. That's 800-471-8817.
Hi, it's me, Chris Hahn. Join me Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. SI Car News. We'll talk about car shows. We'll have interviews with, anybody. I don't care who it is. And check out SI Car News radio show on Facebook for news, events, and a lot of other stuff. Join me for SI Car News Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. on Monster Radio 98.5 FM and AM 1150 and sicarnews.com.
AM 1150, WGGH.
From Murfreesboro, Murphy 500 with gasoline.
Monster Radio.
WGGH.
Let's take some back roads tonight, baby, 'cause you know it drive me crazy, and I sure ain't in a rush to get you home. We'll drink this whiskey from the bottle and forget about tomorrow. We can fall in love underneath this July moon, 'cause I just don't want you to be asking what might have happened if you hadn't gone home so soon. Oh, and baby, let me show you what it's
get a little drunk, get a little wild, throw gasoline on this fire. Moving close, let me hold you tonight. Take the long way down a back road, maybe get lost, never go home. If you want, we can get out of town. Still got whiskey and I'm tipsy. Baby, you can't go home right now. 'Cause I just don't want you to be asking what might have happened if you hadn't gone on so soon. Let's get a little drunk, get a little wild, throw gasoline on this fire. Moving close, let me hold you tonight. Take the long way down a back road, maybe get lost, never go home. If you want, we can get out of town. Still got whiskey and I'm tipsy. Baby, you can't go home right now. You can't go home right now.
WGGH supports local artists.
From El Dorado, Jake Golden with Memphis.
I'll take the call. You rest your head. They found the boys lying in a creek bed. Another night, another day, and my thoughts won't go away. Another image in my head of a bloodstained shoelace. And we found a bicycle covered in mud under the water where no one could see. We found a bicycle covered in mud under the water just down the street. Destination underground, and the men search round and round. Scuffled leaves, teach jeans and lies, and such team full of eyes. In the water lies a boys, once so young and filled with life, severely beaten and tied up for a human sacrifice. And we found a bicycle covered in mud under the water where no one could see. And we found a bicycle covered in mud under the water just down the street. And we found a bicycle covered in mud under the water where no one could see.
Supporting Southern Illinois local music.
Hey everybody, this is Adam Webb, singer from the Holler Boys out of Jonesboro, Illinois, and we just want to say thanks to Monster Radio, WGGH, for playing our songs. You guys rock.
He's planting in the spring and planting in rows, just like his kids. He's watching it grow. It's been a long day, dusk till dawn. A cell phone rings, Daddy, when you coming home? When you
coming home. 7 feet tall, picking in the fall. 35 years, the kid's barely cold. He's trying to beat the cold. He's getting too old. He can't stop now. Got 3 fields to go. He's been planting them fields, watching them grow. He's been working real hard on them loads. He's been planting them fields, watching them grow. He's been working real hard for that field of gold. Kids are all home, a smile on his face. Little did they know it was his last day. The daddy's gone home to his field of gold. He's planted his seeds, he's been harvested home. He's been planting them fields, watching them grow. He's been working real hard on them loads. He's been planting them fields, watching them grow. He's been working real hard for that field of gold. He's planting in the spring, he's planting in rows, just like his daddy taught him when he was 8 years old. He's been planting them fields, watching them grow. Been working real hard on them loads. He's been planting them fields, watching them grow. I've been working real hard for that field of gold.
WGGH supports local artists.
I'm Doug.
I'm Veronica, and we're Top and Bottom, and you're listening to our song, I'm Forever, on WGGH Monster Radio.
Listen throughout the day for Southern Illinois local music.
This is Chuck Williamson. One love. Hey, this is Josh, the Cadillac Jones Band.
This is my kind of Friday night. Turn up the radio.
We're top and bottom. It's all about us.
Hey, y'all, this is Eli Teller.
Of that country girl touch.
Want to get your local and original music heard on Monster Radio? Just go to WGGH.net for more info.
The Marion-based nonprofit group Equipping Haiti is having a fundraiser dinner for its late July mission trip to Haiti, Saturday, June 30th at 6 p.m. at Third Baptist Church in Marion. The dinner is an authentic Haitian meal consisting of chicken, beans and rice, a dessert, and drink. The meal is free, but the group will be taking donations to help fund its trip, which is July 23rd through August 2nd. The mission team will be assisting with a vacation Bible school, organizing an effort to feed more than 200 Haitian children each day, and helping to identify employment opportunities for the Haitian people in the communities of Damian and Bigorod near the capital city of Port-au-Prince. Reservations are being requested to help the group prepare for the proper amount of food. For more information, you can call 618-751-9239, search for Equipping Haiti on Facebook, or visit their website at www.equippinghaiti.org.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-216-8991. 800-216-8991. 800-216-8991. Again, that's 800-216-8991.
You're witty, you're intelligent, and the world needs to hear what you've got to say. You could be famous and have your own radio show. Okay, well, maybe not famous, but you could have your very own radio show on Monster Radio WGGH. Our powerful signal into parts of 5 states could have you potentially reaching millions of people. Whether you're an expert and want to promote your business, maybe you're just that darn interesting, or want to get your church's message out. Call 618-993-8102 for more info, or click WGGH.net.
AM 1150 WGGH.
WGGH supports local artists. From El Dorado, Terry responding with All It Took.
It only took 12 beers to put me here, sitting in this cell. It only took a few times of being there to know I don't care for jail. It took burning a lot of bridges for me to learn how to swim. It took almost losing some of my best friends to appreciate them. It only took one little fight to tick off my wife. It took a couple of nights on the couch to see how she was right. It took dancing with the devil to know that I can't dance. It took a little prayer to God to take me out of that circumstance. Went from muddy water to a clear running brook, and God said you need to read the Bible, son, with someone in my book. So now I've looked over things that before I overlooked, and little was all I had to give, but that's all it took. It only took one look in my baby's eye to see how to be a man. It took a talk with a girl in a wheelchair to show me how to stand. It took my ship nearly sinking to try and ride the tide. It took a lot of faith in the Lord to get me across the great divide. And I went from muddy water to a clear running brook, and God said you need to read the Bible, son, with someone in my book. So now I've looked over things that before I overlooked, and little was all I had to give, but that's all it took. Little was all I had to give, but that's all it took.
Listen throughout the day for Southern Illinois local music.
This is Chuck Williamson. One love. Hey, this is Josh, the Cadillac Jones Band.
This is my kind of Friday night. Turn up the radio.
We're top and bottom.
It's all about us.
Hey, y'all, this is Eli Teller.
Love that country girl touch.
Want to get your local and original music heard on Monster Radio? Just go to WGGH.net for more info.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-216-8991. 800-216-8991.
Again, that's 800-216-8991.
Hey, it's Jason Benetti for ready.illinois.gov with a message for the thousands of Illinoisans with functional needs. Needless to say, everyone needs to have an emergency disaster plan and disaster kit, but that plan and kit may look a lot different for those with functional needs. Learn how to make a plan and a kit that best serves your needs and the needs of your family and even your pets. At ready.illinois.gov, there's tips for caregivers and seniors too. Make a plan and make a kit. Find out how at ready.illinois.gov. That's ready.illinois.gov.
Sponsored by IEMA.
W253CR Marion, now at 98.5 FM, and the legendary
WGGH Marion.
Eastern Heat Wave, national protests. I'm Christopher Cruz. The eastern U.S. has a hot couple of days ahead. About 120 million people will be sweltering with temperatures near and above 100 degrees. There are heat warnings and advisories up in 18 states, says meteorologist Allison Chinchar.
Some cities are going to be so hot, they're looking at record high temperatures. We're talking about over 20 cities over the course of the weekend.
More than 600 protests are planned today against the Trump administration's immigration policies. Biggest are expected in Los Angeles and New York, and the ACLU expects as many as 300,000 in Washington. President Trump says he'll announce his pick to replace Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy on July 9th. Correspondent Sarah Westwood this morning.
Despite fears on the left that selecting a staunchly conservative justice to replace swing vote Anthony Kennedy could put abortion rights and same-sex marriage in jeopardy, Trump is saying those issues will not be a litmus test for his pick.
Mr. Trump may speak with two possible nominees this weekend. Summer is here. That means mosquitoes, one of the deadliest creatures in the world, are out in full force.
A doctor in Massachusetts has developed a mosquito repellent he believes will save lives. Dr. Abrar Karan says his new concoction works for days, and it's better than anything on the market now. It uses natural ingredients, but also contains a special polymer.
The actual patented technology has a component to it where it stays bonded to surfaces for a very long time in a very stable way.
Dr. Karan and his business partners are hoping to have the product available for sale next year. I'm TJ Coutini.
More than 300 new laws take effect tomorrow in Idaho, 150 in Tennessee. The World Cup resumes in Russia today with a round of 16. France faces Argentina at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. France was an early favorite in the World Cup, but is expected to have a hard time against Argentine soccer star Lionel Messi. I'm Christopher Cruz.
I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO of Wesley Financial Group and timeshare cancellation advocate. I was sued by the largest timeshare company in federal court for simply helping people cancel their timeshare that they had been lied to about. The jury sized me up and came back with a verdict after only 20 minutes. And yes, I won.
My husband and I are more than grateful to everyone at Wesley Financial Group. You know, thanks to Chuck and his team, we feel as though a weight has been lifted and we can move on without the worry of a troublesome timeshare.
Whether you owe $10,000 to $250,000 on your timeshare, it's my mission to get you out of your timeshare, eliminate your payments, and get them off your back permanently. And we proudly hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau.
Want to learn more about getting rid of your troublesome timeshare? Call Wesley Financial Group now for your free consultation. Call 800-513-4444. That's 800-513-4444. 800-513-4444.
A new occupation has emerged in the United States: professional cuddler.
Don't touch my hair. Love, but don't touch me.
Can't touch this.
Researchers with the Miami Touch Research Institute say American culture is one of the most touch-averse in the world. But professional cuddler Indigo Dawn says all kinds of people can benefit.
Some of them have autism or depression or social anxiety.
Scientists say the reason people need physical contact lies with the hormone oxytocin, the so-called love hormone that reduces stress and feelings of anxiety.
Some of them just don't know how to ask for what they want, and they just never cuddle.
Better than a massage, pro cuddlers say it gives clients a much deeper emotional experience. I'm Scott Carr.
All-star NBA forward LeBron James could be with a new NBA team next season. He's opted out of his contract with the Cavaliers. I'm Christopher Cruz.
It's Jeff from Cat Spot Litter. If you own a cat, you know how much of a hassle it is buying that heavy, dusty clay litter at the store every couple weeks. Are you ready to save time and money? Well, listen up. I've invented a new cat litter that is lightweight, dust-free, and made from 100% real coconut. It's called Cat Spot Litter. There ain't nothing better at zapping cat urine smells either. The best part, for only $15, we ship a 30-day supply right to your front door. Shoot, we even offer a money-back guarantee. Jump on the coconut bandwagon and get rid of that toxic clumping clay litter. Start thinking healthy for you, your cat, and our planet. Go to catspotlitter.com and give it a try. Use promo code SAVE for 15% off your first order. Hey, I appreciate you listening.
Southern Illinois weather. A heat advisory continues until 8 p.m. tonight. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times today with a high of 93. Winds out of the south 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows level off around 75. Tonight, mainly clear skies. Chance for scattered storms. Tomorrow, high of 92, a mix of clouds and sun. From the Weather Eye Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on Monster Radio AM 1150. Currently, it's 81.
WGGH Marion.
Opinions are like, well, you know, everybody has one. The views and opinions expressed on the programming heard on AM 1150 are those of the host, not necessarily those of the ownership or management of AM 1150. If you have a concern or comment and want your voice to be heard, call the community line 618-997-2305 and voice your opinion now. Or visit WGGH.net.
Well, good morning and welcome to the inaugural edition of Dateline Marion, the radio program. I'm Tim Petrowitz, your host, the general manager of WGGH Radio here in Marion. And our guest this morning is Dr. Steve Webb. Dr. Webb is the superintendent at Goreville Schools, but he's also here for another reason, which we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first of all, Steve, welcome to the program, and just tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, your history, kind of who you are so that people know.
Thank you, Tim. I really appreciate you having me today. I am from Tunnel Hill, which I grew up in the Goreville, Tunnel Hill area. Graduated Goreville High School in 1987. But, went to Johnny Logan College and McKendree University. And when I graduated McKendree, I became the high school basketball coach, biology teacher, athletic director, and a PE teacher for Joppa High School. So I had a great 7 years at Joppa, had some great teams. I truly enjoyed the people of Massac County, and then I became the superintendent at Thompsonville in Franklin County in 1999. And then in 2002, I got the opportunity to go back home to become the superintendent of Goreville Schools. And I've been there for 16 years.
And it's been a pretty successful run at Goreville. And, a lot of people think of they think baseball, softball, and basketball because that's what we've heard a lot about. But, one of the things that you and I have talked about a lot is the fact that there's a lot of academic programs at Goreville that really thrive right now.
Well, they thrive because we've got a community and a school board, and I am truly engaged in making sure that our kids have the opportunity to be successful, and that means having more than just your core courses for them to come to school, and the vocational courses, the extracurricular. I'm a person that believes that every kid should be connected to their school district, and I think that helps in not only discipline, but it helps in our school safety issues that we're having across the country as well. So yes, I think we do very well for a small school, but since we've had our funding cut by the state since 2011, it makes it very difficult for any school to be able to maintain those programs.
Well, and I have to say this too, that there's a lot. If you go through and look at the current faculty and staff and administration, a lot of these people went to Goreville School, so there's got to be a reason to keep coming back and wanting to be part of that.
Well, I think so. We've got a lot of community pride, and we've got a lot of pride in our schools, and it's just a good, small little community, bedroom community that I think people like to raise their family in. And I know I do, and I live on a farm just outside of Goreville, and it's a family farm. And I think that's what we're realizing, is people would like to come home if there are jobs to come to. And And that's what has brought me to my new endeavor in running for the 59th Senate District.
Now, we're going to talk about that in just a minute, but I wanted to ask you because you mentioned a little bit about school safety, and school safety is one of the things that you've been championing with a little bit of a background in law enforcement and things like that. You've been really big on the school safety issue, and it really comes to the forefront with the recent rash of school shootings across the country.
Certainly. I've been a police officer since 2009, and I do a lot of workshops across the region and state and around the nation lately because it is such a hot topic. But it's not a new topic. I've been talking about this for years, and we've been looking at strategies, and I've been talking to school boards about things that they can be doing to increase school safety. But here's the deal: we pack so many kids into our schools that have so many diverse issues. And with funding cuts to education, it makes it to where the schools even put more kids in classrooms to one teacher or to one administrator, and we're our own worst enemy when it comes to creating a dangerous atmosphere by all of these state cuts. So I think we've got a lot of business ahead to try to fix this issue, but the first part of this starts with us as society and realizing that we've got to step up if we're going to protect our kids.
Well, you're in a small school district and you talked about the challenges you have with cuts in state funding. So how do you overcome a situation where kids get crowded into rooms, conflicts arise? What are some things that you can do, or what is maybe some things you can look for to see that there might be something coming up that you need to really pay attention to?
Well, there are three things that I speak about in all of my sessions that I do in these conferences and all of my workshops. The three things that we should be doing as adults is to connect, respect, and protect our kids. And once you get that connection and that respect, then the protection is something that any human looks for. And I think whenever we preach that so much, I think it becomes a family atmosphere of where we want our kids to be able to connect with their teachers, with the aides, with administrators, their coaches. And once we get that connection, now we've got the whole school experience, and we hope it's a positive experience.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I think in dealing with any kids is establishing a relationship. And if you go back and look at these ones who have been part of these shootings, they feel like they're disconnected from the school, and there's not really any advantage to them to be connected to the school.
And that's why connect is the very first thing. Again, we've got schools that are cutting their extracurriculars because of the state funding issues, and I'm the type of person, my philosophy is every child should be involved in something extracurricular within their community, because that's what connects them. That's the fun that we want them to have. That's the passion we want them to have to wear your school colors, to wear your school name on their jersey, on whatever their uniform is, whether they're representing the FFA at a competition. It gives them that connection to the school and to their community. And once they're connected to that, they learn as a member of society, as a good citizen, to be connected to their community as well, and maybe they'll give back in the future.
This is going to kind of tie us in because there's some education-related questions I want to get into. But you mentioned that you have a new endeavor now. You're running for the 59th District Senate seat in Illinois, and I don't know if this has been something that's been in the works for a while, but it actually came about after the primary season where this announcement came up. And just talk a little bit about what got you, what kind of tripped that trigger to make you decide you wanted to get into the race.
Sure. In 2012, I was president of the Association of Illinois Rural and Small Schools, and I was able to travel across the state and testify. And generally, in that testimony, we were talking about rural schools and rural issues as something that needs to be addressed globally. And then in 2014, I became president of the Illinois Association of School Administrators. And in that endeavor, I traveled across the state testifying on behalf of kids, and behalf of this new school funding formula that we just started. And that's been 6 years in the making that we've worked on this bill. So in this capacity, when I received the call from one of the local Democratic chairmen asking me if I would be interested in continuing that fight for the people of Southern Illinois, I felt like that I couldn't say no. I felt like that this is something that God has led me to, and that I've been one of those advocates for kids for so long and for our families in Southern Illinois, and I want my kids to be able to come back and grow their own families and have good jobs in the area. I think if a person has the capacity to be able to help that, then they need to step up, and that's what I have done.
Well, I know that education is near and dear to your heart, and it seems like the thing that gets the most attention when there are budget cuts, the thing that people point to that can't afford those cuts is school funding. Yet we see year after year after year where schools don't get enough funding to do the things that they've done previously, and we see cuts in programs, cuts in extracurriculars, cuts in basic education programs that are happening across the state.
I've just had my fill with having to scrape by. You know, I've been an administrator for 25 years, a school administrator for 25 years, and even within law enforcement, I see kids in need. I see families being torn apart by this opioid epidemic, and I see people that feel sorry for them, but they don't know how to help that. They don't know how to fix that. And I'm telling you right now, leadership's about showing the way, not telling them the way. I'm going to rely on people that are a lot smarter than me to bring in and help with these issues and help me understand those issues so I can take it to Springfield and fight for us and not just say that I know what the plan ought to be, because I don't. I need people to help, and that's why I need input from people that have been involved in that. That's why I've partnered with Crushing the Epidemic. I'm partnering with this group because they understand. It's a local individual from Marion that has fought that battle. And he's helping me understand how we might be able to tackle that epidemic, because here in Southern Illinois, as poverty has increased, jobs have decreased, we're in an area where we're really close to Cape Girardeau, to Paducah, to Evansville, and I've found people that are leaving because they can find jobs there. I want my family to grow up in Southern Illinois. I want my kids to have their own families here so my grandkids can grow up here. We have got to fight for everything in this area in order to be able to bring jobs. And I'm not just talking about basic jobs. We need family-raising wages for our people. And I just don't think we're fighting that fight right now.
We're talking with Dr. Steve Webb. I want to touch on that in just a minute, but we need to take a break. Steve is the superintendent at Goreville Schools, but he's also the Democrat candidate for 59th District Senate seat. And we'll come back and talk with more with him in just a moment. You're listening to Dateline Marion, the radio program.
Picture this. You're sitting at your computer reading the day's news. You click on the next interesting headline only to get...
You have reached this month's limit of free stories. Please enter your credit card number to continue.
Well, not with Dateline Marion. Dateline Marion is a community news website that covers Marion and Williamson County, and there is no limit to the number of stories you can read. That's no limit this week, this month, or this year. Check us out at DatelineMarion.com for local news when you want it, as often as you want it. Oh, and by the way, it's free.
Welcome back to Dateline Marion, the radio program, and again we're talking with Steve Webb, who is the superintendent at Goreville Schools, but for today's purposes, he's the Democrat candidate for state senate in the 59th District coming up in the election in November, and when we left, we were talking about Southern Illinois and trying to create jobs and opportunities in Southern Illinois. And this is going to kind of tie into that, because you talked about people being able to have a living wage. And I know one of the things that's passed the legislature and is waiting on the governor to make a decision is a bill that set a minimum teacher salary at $40,000. And that kind of puts you into like one, it puts you on two sides of the aisle, because $40,000 is a good wage for a beginning teacher, but you've got all these small Southern Illinois schools that will have trouble getting beginning teachers because they don't have the money to pay a beginning teacher $40,000. How far is that off from around here from what a beginning teacher makes, and what kind of an impact would that have if it's signed by the governor?
Well, it's certainly not far off. It's way behind. The average wage for a bachelor degreed individual is around $51,000 nationwide. And we're starting teachers in some districts less than $30,000. So again, this is based on local communities that are having to fund their schools through local property taxes that are running people out because they can't afford their property taxes. And if you have a low property wealth in a school district, you have low funding opportunities for kids. It should not matter whether you live in Hardin County, Illinois, or in Winnetka, the Governor Rauner's hometown, where they spend over $25,000 per child, and Hardin County at around $8,000 per child. There is no sane person that would say that makes sense, that one child could be worth less than $10,000 while another child in the same state gets over $25,000 of funding. The same thing goes for our families who are trying to raise children in an area that has to raise their property taxes just to be able to afford to have a science teacher. With this bill, we're just trying to make it to where teachers will want to be in the teaching field again. We've got such a teacher shortage right now that we're looking for any way to make it more palatable. We all know that they face a tough job. They become the social catch-all for children whenever they come in because we can't afford guidance counselors, we can't afford social workers. So the teacher faces that burden. We've got probably a fourth less teacher candidates at SIU right now than we did just 6 years ago. I'm sorry, 3/4 less. So we've had a fourth of what we used to have, a quarter of what we used to have at SIU. That's going to be a crisis going forward, especially for our math and our sciences and our hard-to-find teachers anyway. So I think they're looking for anything that could help sweeten the pot, that we can get more people going into the teaching fields. The problem is with these little bitty rural school districts, that is a local control issue as well. They have their school, they're proud of their school, they're paying a decent wage for that community. They don't feel that they should be made to pay $40,000. There shouldn't be an arbitrary amount set on that. And I understand that, but also understand we want the best teachers in the classroom, period. We want the best. We want them coming out of the universities ready to go. We will work together to try to figure out what that is, but this is just a first step to making that position palatable to people and make them want to go into teaching.
So this is a question that everybody's going to want answered, and I know we really don't have the answer, but what's the best way to approach Springfield, given the fact that for some reason people think, and it's because the majority of legislators are from Cook County in the Chicago area, but how do we make everybody understand that Cook County and Southern Illinois are not the same?
Well, in particular, Cook County, South Cook, Lake County, I mean, all of the surrounding suburban counties to Chicago, they're a different world in terms of property wealth and in terms of job availability. I think they know we exist down here, but I think that they believe that we're okay the way it is, that we've got what we need down here. We've got beautiful Shawnee National Forest. We've got beautiful parks. We've got beautiful areas to retire to. I believe that's how we are viewed in the state, as we are okay with that. And I think it's time we step up and say, we're not okay with that. We do have beautiful areas. We do have things that people should want to come see, and we've got roads that you can't hardly get there because they're so rough. Rough enough to where they put a sign up on the interstate that says, "Caution, rough road." Now, how embarrassing is that?
On the interstate.
On the interstate.
Yeah.
Caution, rough road. It's rough road because there's potholes in it. I'm embarrassed when people come into this state and we don't even have a rest stop for them like every other state that you travel to when people are going on vacation now. The rest stops are closed. The only reason the rest stops back open in Metropolis is because the fine people of Metropolis are paying for a person to be there. Now, that is embarrassing. That's Southern Illinois that people are driving into, and that's the impression of our state that they get when they come here.
You talked about the roads, and there's a lot of talk right now about two different measures to help raise funds for the road, both that are going to be put a very bitter taste in the mouth of drivers in Illinois, but one of them is raising the gasoline tax by, I think, 85 cents a gallon. Not raising it up to 85 cents a gallon, but raising it by 85 cents a gallon. The other one talks about raising the fee for license plates from the current $125 or $105, depending on what kind of vehicle you have, up to $579. There's got to be a happy medium somewhere, doesn't there?
Well, I read that as well, and it's not really a proposal in terms of a bill that I've ever heard of. It's actually what they believe the road tax would need to be in order to cover the infrastructure that they've let go for so many years. And I think it's very similar with the license, with your registration card. That's what the price would have to be able to cover the bonding for that actual project to get it up to the 80% that they were looking for. So I don't know that there's a bill that has pushed that, or if they're just saying, here's what the number needs to be, that's what you've gotten yourself into. Well, it goes back to the same conversation with pensions. They're trying to blame the people that have worked very hard and paid into their pensions over the last 30 years whenever the state didn't pay their share into the pensions. And so now all of a sudden it's our fault. That's what they're saying about the road. You know, here's your fault. Here's what it's going to cost to fix it. I don't see that is even feasible to look at. We would be the #1 highest gas tax in the nation if they were to do something silly like that. But it just goes to show you that this whole tax and spend arena is over. We're taxing people too much to where the U-Hauls are leaving the state. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them one bit. Our property taxes have become a second mortgage, and that was not the intention of property taxes. We've got to get a handle on this, and we've got to understand that we can't just continue to tax the people and expect them to stay and play. We've got to make it to where they can be prosperous in our state, live, grow their families, and not have to worry about losing their farm just because their property tax bills come in.
Well, I'm sure there's a plan there, and I'm sure you've thought about this a lot, but how do we resolve the issue, or what are your thoughts on how we resolve the issue of creating that happy medium between cutting things we don't need to spend money on and finding more funding for the things we do? And obviously education and infrastructure are things that need to be taken care of, but how do we find that happy medium? What can we look at as far as ways to meet in the middle somewhere?
Well, the state created their own mess whenever they robbed from the pensions for so many years, for decades. They robbed from the pensions and didn't pay their share in and just kicked it on down the road until now it's coming due. Just like any homeowner that needs some help with making their payments, you can go to the bank, you can reamortize, you can work on something to make it to where you can comfortably make your payments and both win. We could do that, but the state chose not to. The state flat chose not to fix their amortization of their bonding, I think, so they can have this crisis that we're talking about now. And I think that's wrong. I think they could have fixed this back in 2012, and we wouldn't have had our education funding stolen since 2011. If they would have fixed it that year when we told them how to do it, they chose not to. I still think that is a viable option. It's a must option. Reamortize it, get your payments to a workable amount, use that money to do what's right for kids and families.
So here's what I'm hearing from Steve Webb, okay? What I'm hearing is that too many people in Springfield right now are thinking as Republicans and Democrats instead of thinking as servants of the state of Illinois. And that's a message that clearly would resonate with the residents of Illinois, but how do we break this Republicans against Democrats? You know, Republicans have good ideas, Democrats have good ideas, but Republicans won't listen to the Democrats because it's a Democrat idea, and Democrats won't listen to the Republicans because it's a Republican idea. How do we get the message to the people that it's not about Republican and Democrat, it's about the people of Illinois?
Well, I just like to be as transparent as possible. I do these radio shows. I make myself available. We're going to open up an office this week. I think if the people truly knew the options that were out there instead of everything being behind closed doors, I think the people and the power of the people would be able to help force the action, force the hands. Remember, we had a referendum, what was it, 2 years ago, possibly, where stream, and nothing occurred with it. It disappeared. And the same thing goes for school funding. We've had this bill that was able to finally give an injection of school funding, and my opponent voted against it, largely because it was that fight between, well, we don't want to give Chicago any money, any of our Southern Illinois money. Well, we're not giving Chicago. These are kids. Kids can't choose where they live. Every child in the state now will finally be treated as their own individual child, no matter what address they live in, and they will be hopefully adequately funded in the future. But just throwing us these few scraps every once in a while in hopes that we're going to just shut up is not going to do it. So if you're asking me what they're going to get from me, they're going to get the truth. They're going to get the real story. They're going to hear it. They're going to see it. I'm going to have a Facebook presence, podcast presence, and I'm going to tell them what's going on in those closed-door meetings in Springfield. And then I'm going to come home on the weekends. I'm not going to live in Springfield. They're going to be able to find me in Tunnel Hill, Illinois. They're going to be able to call me. They're going to be able to see me.
See you in the same reserve seat at the Goreville basketball game?
At the same reserve seat at Goreville basketball games, at every other gym in Southern Illinois. I'm going to be the one that they can call and they can talk to and they can find out what's going on up there so people can be educated about what is happening in that town. Because I think right now we wait until the news tells us instead of asking the people that are involved.
All right. Well, Steve, I appreciate your time. We're out of time. I'm sure we could go on forever, and we'll probably get you back on again before the election. But thanks for coming in. Appreciate having you here.
Thank you for having me.
That's Steve Webb. He is the superintendent of Goreville Schools, but he's also the Democrat candidate for state senate in the 59th district. This has been Dateline Marion, the radio show. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back again next Saturday morning at 8 o'clock.
WGGH Marion.
Opinions are like, well, you know, everybody has one. The views and opinions expressed on the programming heard on AM 1150 are those of the host, not necessarily those of the ownership or management of AM 1150. If you have a concern or comment and want your voice to be heard, call the community line 618-997-2305 and voice your opinion now. Or visit WGGH.net. This is Lawler's Hometown Heroes with David Lawler. Interviews with people who give back to their community. Teachers, leaders, and local nonprofit charities. If you'd like to participate, please call 618-993-8102. And now, David Lawler's Hometown Heroes.
Good morning, WGGH. David Lawler here, Hometown Heroes. My hometown hero with me this morning is Mike Pinto. Mike Pinto is the COO of the Miners, has been with the Miners organization since they started back in 2007, and has a lot of experience both coaching in sports and life coaching in terms of being a public speaker. So someone that I'm very fascinated to talk with. Thank you so much for being here with me, Mike.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with a little bit about your background. How did you first get inspired to get into coaching? How did that all happen? Sounds like you have we were talking at KB's Barbecue before we came over, and sounds like something you've been doing for a long time. Started up around the Chicago area. Tell me a little bit about your origin story. How you first got involved in sports?
It was frankly nothing I ever really planned on. I played as a kid, and like everybody did, and I look at the movie The Sandlot, and that was my life. I played from the minute I got up in the morning until it was too dark to play. If we didn't have enough players, it was right field out, and if you had less than that, you were playing up against the wall. Drawing a strike zone at the local school, putting bikes out where doubles and triples were, and so that all kind of started, and then it had really got away from the game, really got into my business life, and started coaching my sons when they were younger, and that led to, I got a phone call from a coach saying, from a junior college, asked if I'd help with him, and tried it, and I liked it, and the kids liked me, and he retired, and I took over that program, and this whole baseball life kind of took on a life of its own. Nothing I planned.
So what year did that start? Where was the junior college? What year did you first?
Oakton Community College in Des Plaines, Illinois. And really a great guy, Rich Simmons, and gave me an opportunity to met an agent who had a former big leaguer who got a job with the Joliet Jackhammers. It was a professional team in Joliet. He hired me as a coach. And from there, I went to the Sioux Falls Canaries as the field manager. My team got bought my second year in, and I'm out of a job, and really was just going to get back to speaking and that part of my business life. And I got a phone call from the Southern Illinois Miners.
So who was it? John Simmons, or who was it that you first?
It was Eric Haig. Eric was the then COO, kind of same role I have now, and he was building the franchise at that point. And it was kind of interesting because he called. I had been recommended to him by my former GM at Joliet, who's now an owner in the North, or rather in the Frontier League.
Okay.
And Eric called, said, "I'm going to be in Chicago. Would you like to sit down?" And he said, "I don't know a lot about you. Would you bring a resume?" And I didn't bring a resume. Instead, I brought a book. I took 7 days and I wrote, "How do you build a franchise from the ground up," which is what we were doing, and build it into a dynasty. And I wrote what were my 8 pillars for doing that. And they had a 5-year plan in stages as to how I would build each one of these areas, from building a brand to creating an experience players would never forget. And so we had 8 pillars to it, and I got done with the interview, and he said, I've interviewed a lot of baseball guys, and he said, everybody tells me what they know about baseball and how they can win a season, and he said, we're putting a $26 million ballpark and millions to market this new team. I need somebody who has a bigger plan than just how to win 1 year. And I got the job.
I'm not surprised. Show up with a book that explains your strategy from start to finish. Tell me a little bit about it. I mean, if you want to get into the 8 pillars, or what some of the core takeaways that you see from having brought that book there with the 8 pillars and how it's worked. And I'm sure there's been, you were talking about someone in the batter box earlier having to make adjustments if you're not hitting the ball. I'm sure there's adjustments along the way. But what sort of takeaway do you have from writing that?
Well, I don't know that there have been adjustments. I think there have been add-ons. I believe, and we'll talk more about this because it applies to business or life, I believe in a concept called what else thinking. That what's the next idea? And so it's constantly how to build on what we had. And the first of the pillars was I wanted to create the best experience of a player's life. That they didn't just play independent baseball. When they look back years from now, they played in Southern Illinois, and that meant something. And that's how we treat the players, from the things that are provided to feeding them, which minor league baseball players don't eat well. They eat really well in Southern Illinois. We take care of them and try to create this environment and special environment around the ballpark that when they look back, and now having done this 12 years, the relationships. I got a phone call from Mike Scanzano, who played with us in 2007 and 2008. And Mike called last week, wanted to congratulate me on my all-time victory, and we just kind of caught up on life, and those are relationships. I didn't want this to just be they played here and then left and were never a part of it. So we started this thing. You'll see it on my social media from time to time. I'll say #AlwaysAMiner, and we use that among the players. That once a player plays for us, he is always part of this family.
That is a very important principle. I'm very happy to hear that. And I'm thankful to have gotten to know some of your players through the years. We were talking before we came here about, back in 2007, I was starting law school, and my parents were hosting a couple of the players, and they seemed very grateful for the experience. And I love that you incorporate everything into it, the nutrition and the experience, because it's not just there to be a baseball player. And this is where I want to kind of dig in. I suspect whenever I don't know if you interview a lot of the players, I know there's a recruitment process to it, but what are some of the qualities that you're looking for in a player? I'm sure it's not just the numbers, but you probably want someone who is going to fit your paradigm of what success really looks like in being a team player. So what are some of the questions that you'd like to ask your players, or some of the things that you're looking for whenever you're trying to get some players who are going to be a real fit in your organization?
Well, I'm trying to find which guys are fits, and we really run this just the way a major league organization does. And so there's a lot of work that goes into what we do every day. So for a 7 o'clock game today, we will have players there at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon to prepare for that. The scouting reports, all the things that we go through in order to try to win games. There will be guys at the gym late this morning getting their work in to make sure, but all that's just the baseball part. I want to know what kind of people they are. I want to know, are they buy-in guys? Are these guys that buy in to being part of something bigger than they are? Guys who it's not just about them. See, if it's not about you, you'll put the bunt down because it's helping our team win. Mm-hmm. If it's about you, you just want to hit because you want to put your numbers up. So it's extensive. I want to talk to guys they played for, guys they played with.
Check the references. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like any other business. I look at their social media. I want to see what kind of things do they put on Twitter, what kind of things do they put on Instagram, what do they think is interesting, motivating, what things do I really not want a part of what we do. And so I go through that whole process in deciding which guys fit. I get so many compliments from people. Oh, you bring the greatest guys in here. And overall we do. Every now and then one slips through, but they're out of here really quickly because it doesn't take long to discover that's not a fit for us.
Well, I can attest to that all the people that I've met that have been a part of your organization, we're talking about, was it Ryan Bird? Is that
Ryan Bird, yeah.
He stayed with us, and just an amazing pitcher, but always focused, and he was very respectful. We're going to take a break here on WGGH. Thank you so much for tuning in to Lawler's Hometown Heroes. My hero this morning is Mike Pinto with the Southern Illinois Miners. Thank you for listening.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? When floodwaters reach your door? When wildfires are engulfing the edge of your neighborhood? Or an earthquake is destroying buildings? Or is the best time perhaps today? During a disaster, you may not be able to stay in touch with your family or friends as easily as you think. Go to ready.illinois.gov and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by the Illinois Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and the Ad Council.
This is Lawler's Hometown Heroes. If you have any questions for today's guest, please call 618-993-8102. Once again, here's David Lawler.
Good morning, Southern Illinois, WGGH. Good morning, Facebook Live. Mike, thank you so much again for being here with me this morning. I'm already learning a lot, and we've connected a little bit over breakfast, got to meet some interesting people this morning over at KB Barbecue. But thanks for, just taking time out of your day to be here. You run a very successful, a very busy organization. So for you being willing to take some time and share with our listeners some of your success habits, some of the things that are bringing your players to the level of performance. And what was the milestone you mentioned earlier? Was it a certain number of wins?
My 626th win here in Southern Illinois made me the all-time winningest manager in Frontier League history. So
that's huge. Congratulations.
Yeah, so it was,
that's got to feel good.
The nice part was I was able to do it a year before the manager had it before. So that's a full season to get those wins earlier, and so that means a lot. And it's a great thing for our organization. Well, it's a testament to your character, and this is where, as we dig in, I suspect I'm not going to be surprised about. It might seem like an overnight success, but we were talking about the compound effect, or the book I was giving you there. You just throughout your life, I suspect that the principles, the 8 pillars you talked about, they don't change, but there's add-ons. Let's talk about what success means to you. So I have a question that I've heard a lot of people that will ask. When you think of the word successful, who comes to mind in your mind, and why? What does success mean to you? Oh, well, see, I think that is such a wide open thing because it has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with stature. I think it comes down to, do you love what you do? Are you happy with where you are in your life? I do think that for any of us, none of us are happy unless we're growing. And there's some place to go that you're aiming towards. I think when we lose that, I think people start going backwards. So hence that constant, people say, you are so driven. I am. I'm driven for the next thing. How can I do this better?
Let's talk about, in that vein, I'm sure you are constantly reading a lot, you're learning a lot, you're growing a lot, both in your organization and you're a professional speaker. I want to understand, what are maybe 1 or 2 books that come to mind that you will frequently give as gifts because they stand out in your mind as being something that you've learned a lot and you've taken a lot away from?
Well, probably the one most often over the last few years is a book called Legacy. It's written by a man named James Kerr. Okay. And it is an inside story to the New Zealand All Blacks rugby team. We talked a little bit about it. We were talking about the Amazon thing. But this is a book. They are the most successful sports franchise in the world of any kind. And so this author got a chance to go inside the All Blacks and see what made them what they were. So I tell a story with our players early on that as the guy starts the beginning of the book, they have the 15 principles that make them what they are. And the first one's called Sweeping the Sheds. And he tells the story how they just won an opportunity to go to the World Cup. They're in France. Mm-hmm. And after the test, that's what the games are called, they go into the sheds. Sheds are like the clubhouse or locker room. And they all have a toast out of this big cup. And then when they're done, the 2 captains go to the corner and they pick up a broom. And the 2 captains begin to sweep the inside of the sheds. And he asked the manager, he said, don't they have people to do this? And he said, no one takes care of the All Blacks. All Blacks take care of ourselves. And he said, well, why wouldn't you have a rookie do that, kind of as a rite of passage? He said, that wouldn't be the message we want. This is a message from our senior leaders to every member of the team. There's no job too small or insignificant to do at the highest level. And so that's how the book starts.
That's powerful.
And so that's something I take that segment and take it to our players every year in spring training and say, when we leave a clubhouse, when we leave a dugout, it's immaculate. We bring our own brooms. We bring our own garbage bags.
I saw someone post something from one of the other teams that you were playing at, and I think they were commenting on, hey, they saw that. You literally left the place cleaner than when you were there, and that's important. I think that sends the right message for your team and for other organizations. It's not just here about playing a game. It's about, doing the right thing. And
it's kind of who we are.
Yeah.
That's what I want our standard. That's who we are. Win, lose, we got swept in a series. We're leaving it immaculate when we leave because that's who we are. That doesn't change. The win losses will change. Who you are doesn't.
Let's talk about some of the pillars. You showed up in 2007 and you were prepared and you had 8 pillars. Share with me one or two or some of that stand out. What is it that your principles are? I mean, how are those pillars organized and how do you explain them to your team?
Well, one is that first we wanted to build a brand. We wanted to build a reputation within the baseball industry that we move players. We help them improve, and we get them back to major league organizations. That was going to be real important for us to be able to draw other players.
Why are they going to come play with you if you're not doing that?
Exactly. Yeah. So we get a Williams Perez this year who had 31 starts as a major league starting pitcher.
Wow.
We don't get him without that reputation of that brand that we built. That a guy from the Chicago Cubs calls me and says, here's a guy, here's a situation. That didn't happen overnight. That took time. One of the pillars was we wanted to build legacy, where you walk into our clubhouse and there's a wall with the photographs of all the great minors before them, all the all-stars, the guys that have been signed by organizations as they walk in. I want them to have this feeling of great players played before us, and our job is to take care of this and pass that jersey on to the next guy in the same spot that it was when I got it. And so those are important things for us to have within our clubhouse.
That is so important. And we just touched on a little bit whenever we were talking a moment ago about, making sure that you have a sense of purpose, you have a sense of meaning. And I want to understand yours, because with your level of success and all the things that you do, I suspect you yourself have your own founding principles, your own purpose. So what would you say your highest meaning is, or your greatest purpose in life right now? How would you define that, Mike?
I think that's really hard to define, because I think we're always evolving. I'm really driven. I work really hard. I believe the core to all this is you have to work hard. There's no shortcut to this. And so I think that is a core principle. One is we want to do the right thing. Our organization is built on, it's simple, do the right thing. If we do the right thing, whether it's taking care of our players, whether it's taking care of our fans, I had the great opportunity to go and spend some time at the Disney Institute down in Florida and learn how does Disney run their business. And so a lot of what we're doing with the minors is simply, what would Disney do? How would Disney do this?
I saw you posting something. I wondered what that was about. That's nice.
So a little boy wants to carry his thing of popcorn back by himself, and Dad knows this is not going to be a good thing. And so sure enough, they're going down the stairs, the popcorn gets dropped. Now Dad's upset, the little boy's upset. We can't have that. So we're going to have a staff member is going to go get them a new popcorn, and it's not going to cost them anything. And let's make that go away.
Well, make the experience positive for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And so it can be little things that you do around the ballpark. You see someone, they're getting ready to take a picture, and somebody's not going to be in it. And one of our staff, can I take that picture for you? Just a little thing. Try to do little things well. We have a sign in our clubhouse that says everything matters, because it does. Every little detail matters.
Well, you've sort of answered my next question, which was going to be what sort of habits and routines do you follow? I mean, how do you? And it sounds like through every layer of your organization, you're trying to ascribe those principles that you read in the book that you were sharing, where everyone is willing to take part in whatever. And you're you're the COO, you're running the show, but if you see trash on the ground, I suspect you're going to pick it up.
Again, a thing I kind of picked up from Disney is that the CEO, if he's walking through Disney and there's a piece of trash, he's going to pick that up, because that's a full ownership that everybody, that your staff buys into, that we want this place to be immaculate. Doesn't matter.
We're going to take a short break here on WGGH. Lawler's Hometown Heroes. Here with me this morning is Mike Pinto with the Southern Illinois Miners. Please stay tuned.
With ThermoSpa's unique built-in thermofiltration system, you simply fill it with a garden hose and your water stays crystal clear with very little maintenance. Right now, they're offering 0% APR financing with approved credit and a $1,000 savings coupon. Call ThermoSpas today at 800-986-9794 for your free DVD and brochure. That's 800-986-9794. Call 800-986-9794 today to take advantage of 0% APR financing.
This is Lawler's Hometown Heroes. If you have any questions for today's guest, please call 618-993-8102. Once again, here's David Lawler.
Good morning, Southern Illinois. David Lawler here with Mike Pinto, who is my hero with me this morning because he is an awesome leader, a wonderful coach of the Southern Illinois Miners. He's a professional speaker and does so much and the reason that this show is so important to me, Mike, is I like to highlight people who are trying to provide a positive impact in our community. And I have met you several times over the last few months and really over the last over 10 years. And I can't say enough about the positive impact that you make, not just on your players' lives, but the different businesses that you interact with, just your level of respect and your work ethic and how you're a genuine person. The conversation that you're having with me, it's the same conversation I've seen you have with a number of people over the years. So thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for the value that you bring to Southern Illinois. And I think a lot of it ties back to, you were just talking before we were, came back on the air. You shared the story you were talking about with Ronald Reagan. He'd gotten shot and he was in the hospital. What were you sharing there?
Well, part of in my presentation that I do, my speaking presentation, I tell the story of how when he was shot and what happened, and how after he was shot, when they got to the hospital, he would not allow. They brought a gurney out. They want to take him out and wheel him in, and he won't do that. He got out of the car, buttoned his jacket, straightened his tie, and walked through the doors. And when he did, the doors closed and he collapsed. And he said later, "I didn't want anyone to see the leader of our country going into the hospital on a stretcher."
That gives me chills.
And but the story is that as he was in the hospital, a Secret Service agent had gone to get him something, and a nurse walked into the room, and President Reagan was down on his hands and knees cleaning up something in the bathroom. And the nurse said, "What are you doing?" And he had spilled water. And so he was just cleaning up the water he had spilled. And it just, like you said, when no one's watching. No one was watching.
That's the kind of leaders that we need. And whether you agree in terms of politics, that's the character that we need in leaders. And there's a lot of debate, and we were talking about this earlier, there's a lot of vitriol and debate with national politics and what's right and what's wrong. But if we can just, I think, start to have the conversation more about core values and character and doing the right thing, and then we can debate the issues, I think it'll be a whole lot more productive than we get a lot of attacks on people unnecessarily. Let's talk about some of the tips, the habits that you as a leader give your players. I mean, what sort of habits do you tell them in terms of, I like that you talk about nutrition. I mean, exercise is not just swinging the bat, but I mean, in every area of their life. So what sort of habits or routines do you like to teach your players in the off season? Because I mean, you have a long season, so I know that there's a long process. But what are some of the habits and routines and things that you're teaching your players throughout the season?
Well, I believe we were talking earlier about the book Darren Hardy has, The Compound Effect. And I did a demonstration last year with our players. And I said, what would you rather have? Would you rather have $1 million in cash or a penny doubled every day for 31 days? How many want the $1 million? And you're going to have some that do. I say, oh, hey, boy, you do pretty well with $1 million. All right, I didn't get everybody. How about 2 million, 3 million, 5 million? How many would take $5 million or the penny doubled every day for 31 days? And in the end, and so I had a bucket out there, And so I'm tossing pennies into this bucket. And in the end, a penny doubled every day for 31 days is $10,737,000. And I had all of these pennies, and I poured them into the bucket. And I said, it doesn't happen with one thing. It happens with a lot of things that we compound, whether it's we eat well, we went to the gym, we got our early work in, all of those things that just happen to work with baseball. I mean, we brought a chef in a couple years ago and had cooking classes for the players. They'd learn to cook for themselves so they could eat good meals, because this is a tough grind for them to be able to play professional baseball. But those are habits that they take outside of this game when they're done. And I fully believe that a lot of the guys that are here, when they move on with their lives, we've got some guys that are enormously successful in their lives because the habits it takes to really be good as a professional baseball player, when you leave here, those habits don't change. You know, your ability to handle failure, your ability to not be fearful in big situations, how you handle success and failure on a daily basis. Are you coachable? Are you a good teammate? All of those things, if you are good at all of those, doesn't matter where you go, you're going to be successful in your life.
I love that. That's so important. I'm learning a lot, and a lot of the, these routines are, it's not rocket science. It's not like there's a big breakthrough overnight, but if you can just consistently cultivate those habits, and I'm sure the same goes for how they treat one another. I mean, I can just sense the level of respect that you expect your players to treat one another with, and it's not just do one really nice thing, but be consistent in showing up, and that's important, like you said, regardless of our walk of life. Let's transition a little bit into your speaking engagements. You've been doing this for quite some time as well, right, Mike?
Yeah, that's I started speaking professionally in 1990, so it's been a long time. I probably have done 1,000 at this point speaking engagements. I did a lot in my early years. 125 a year.
Wow.
At one point. Yeah.
What sort of tips or advice can you give to someone who's getting ready for their first speech, or has to do this on a daily or weekly basis? What are some of those habits and routines that helped you do well and perform well?
Well, I got very lucky. Early on, I decided if I was going to do this, I was going to be really good at it. So I joined the National Speakers Association and started learning from really great speakers and what tips, techniques. And, it's funny. I have people ask all the time, well, how do I become a speaker? I think I could really – there's no shortcut. You have to speak. There's no getting in front of an audience and being comfortable in that environment and in your own shell. Being authentic. I think a really good speaker is really authentic. That's who they are. Their beliefs, the things they talk about, it's not material. It's them and who they are. But you have to practice, your intonations. See what you look like visually when you're doing these things. A great lesson I heard from one speaker is videotape your audience from behind you. You'll be shocked at the things you thought were good. They didn't. The things
because you could see in the body language of how they respond.
Things you thought were funny, and some people laughed. No, they didn't really think it was all that funny, because you're worried about the next thing. As a speaker,
it's hard to be present. Yeah,
it's hard to be present.
Yeah.
And by the way, the only way you can is to know your material so well. I had done a group. I did 5 cities in 5 days with the same company. And the same guy traveled with me as I went to all of these different regions. Mm-hmm. And I was doing a 1-hour talk. I have a particular story I do at the very end of my presentation, and it's really funny. And, I have women wiping mascara out of their eyes. And he said, "You are like a robot." He said, "I watched yesterday, and at 2:58, you were in the same exact spot you were the day before. You are laughing like you've never told this story before, and I've heard it for 4 days." And I said, you know what it is? When you know your material so well, you can enjoy the audience. You can be in the moment and enjoy them. And so, but the only way is you have to practice. So if I'm doing a story live, I've done that story 100 times. I've integrated, I've practiced it. I've videotaped myself doing it before I ever do it in front of an audience.
Well, we have to wrap up here on WGGH, but we'll spend 2 more minutes if you have before I think about the car show afterwards. Thank you so much for tuning in, WGGH. Mike, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for all you do for Southern Illinois and for the miners. And
I love being here. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
WGGH Marion.
There is heat wave, angry protesters. I'm Christopher Cruz. Large parts of the country are sweltering today, especially the east, with temperatures near and above 100 degrees.
This isn't just the temperature itself, it's also the humidity. When you combine the two, you get what's called the heat index, or the feels-like temperature. Look, for example, for today, 105 is going to be the feels-like temperature for Chicago, Detroit, even Syracuse, 102 for St. Louis, 104 for Dallas.
Meteorologist Allison Chinchar. Protests planned today in hundreds of cities against the Trump administration's immigration policies. Big gatherings expected in New York and Los Angeles. The ACLU expects as many as 300,000 people will protest in the nation's capital. President Trump tweeted this morning about ICE. He said, "They are great, and to the great and brave men and women of ICE, do not worry or lose your spirit. So brave, the radical left Dems want you out. Next, it will be all police." Dozens of wildfires are burning at this hour throughout the United States. The 416 fire in Colorado has burned more than 42,000 acres in the past month and is only 37% contained. Meteorologist Derek Van Dam says it's not just Colorado that's affected.
There are over 45 active large wildfires that are taking place over the western U.S. from California right through Colorado, and the wind gusts are not helping, not to mention the lack of rain and the timber box conditions.
The U.S. Drought Monitor says most of Colorado is suffering from drought. Rescuers looking for 12 boys and their soccer coach have discovered a hidden opening deep in the jungle that may be a new point of entry to the cave system in Thailand in which the group is stranded. The World Cup resumes in Russia today with a round of 16. France faces Argentina at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Then it's Portugal versus Uruguay at 2 p.m. Eastern. The winners of today's matches to face off on July 6th. I'm Christopher Cruz.
Here's some great news. If you missed the deadline to sign up for a health care plan, or more importantly, if you signed up for a plan that you're just not happy with, you still have a choice. It's called Medishare. Medishare is a Christian healthcare sharing program. It's been around for 25 years. They have hundreds of thousands of members all across the country. And get this, over the years, Medishare members have shared more than $2.5 billion of each other's medical bills. Best of all, you could save a lot of money with Medishare. The typical savings for a family is about $500 a month. Your savings may be less or more, but think about what you could do with that extra money every month. So if you think you're stuck with a high-cost health plan that doesn't have much to offer, think again. You can join Medishare anytime, so call them today and check it out. Here's the number to find out more. There's no pressure. They're super easy to talk to. Just hit *848. That's *848, *848.
Rich is just a really good guy. The term good egg isn't enough to describe him. He's also certified organic and free range. Rich puts the cap back on everything. The toothpaste, the olive oil, the shampoo, everything. He lets his 10-year-old nephew beat him at virtual tennis, even though he can straight up slay his 10-year-old nephew in virtual tennis. When the toilet paper is running low, Rich replaces the roll on the actual holder, not just on the back of the toilet. Rich is texting and driving. Rich, no. What are you doing, Rich? I was just telling everyone how great you are. Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Southern Illinois weather. A heat advisory continues until 8 p.m. tonight. A mix of clouds and sun this afternoon with highs around 93. Southerly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows around 75. Tonight, mainly clear. Partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow, chance for scattered thunderstorms. Highs level off around 92. From the Weather Eye Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on Monster Radio AM 1150. Currently, it's 84.
WGGH Marion.
Opinions are like, well, you know, everybody has one. The views and opinions expressed on the programming heard on AM 1150 are those of the host, not necessarily those of the ownership or management of AM 1150. If you have a concern or comment and want your voice to be heard, call the community line 618-997-2305 and voice your opinion now. Or visit WGGH.net.
Baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star. Baby, you can drive my car. And maybe I love you. Beep, 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 yeah.
Welcome to SI Car News on AM 1150 with your host, Chris Hahn. If you'd like to participate, please call 618-993-8102. And now, here's Chris.
Hey, good Saturday morning. It is SI Car News. We're here on 98.5 FM. If you're listening this morning, AM was knocked out by the storm. Hopefully going to be back Monday or Tuesday with the AM. So you're 90.5 FM, WGGH. And we got our cruising going on right here. Actually, we should have started a half hour sooner because there's some pretty interesting conversation coming out here this morning. It was really good. I don't know if it would have to have one of those. I don't know if we'd have to have one of those disclaimers. Maybe we would have had to have one of those on there. But it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was good talk. And good talking to everybody that's here right now. Now, I want to let you know, and I don't know if we noticed this, but we have a Porsche and a Corvette here on the same lot. That is almost, I talked to Gary this morning earlier. I remember the Corvette Club of America would buy a Porsche for their club event once a year and take sledgehammers to them. They really, it was. I remember Hot Rod and Carcraft covered that one time. So, but I think it's a friendly rivalry. I don't know if we can get Mike Pinto's the driver of the Porsche. I don't know if we get you guys to. I don't know if we get you guys to. Hey, they would get you guys to race down. We'd close the street down, called like Street Outlaws, and hold them off, and yeah. We could do that, and just settle this once and for all, doggone it. Who's got the fastest car? But since the Porsche owner is not out here, yes, Corvette wins. Corvette wins automatically. Come on out. We'd probably be banned from minors games now, but Mike Pinto, manager of the minors, has been in there with David Lawler doing on his show. So real fine guy. Glad to meet him. And so we're talking out here. We've got some cars. We've got some motorcycles. We have a Prius out here, folks. And I've already talked to the owner of the Prius. He already knows my kind of disdain for that type of vehicle. I don't know what to say, but I've tried shaming him, and hopefully somewhere down the line he's influenced by these cars or the motorcycle. Beautiful motorcycle over there. Hopefully he's influenced by these. I'm hoping, because I mean, my God, a Prius. I just in fact, they're coming out now. And Mr. Pinto, glad to meet you. And go Miners, go Miners. Now, see, that came from a Porsche owner. He loves the Corvette. See, I mean, there's a rivalry there.
I do not love it.
There you go. See, okay, directly from a Porsche owner. There you go. See, go. Oh, okay. See, Cubs fan. There you go. Okay, all right. Oh my gosh! I need some help out here. David went back inside, I guess, because he knew we were talking about the Prius. But yeah, it is a beautiful day. It's not that hot right now, and we're getting a little bit of a cloud cover. Yeah, nice breeze, and you're welcome out here, 1801 East Main Street. I know it was an impromptu, kind of a quick, gee, let's get the band together and let's get outside and play, or let's have this fundraiser at the barn, kind of like the old, this all of a sudden we did this. But, we did all this together. So it's, so let's get together and we got some people here. So come on out, 1801 East Main Street, and we're going to be here for a while. I do appreciate Insufficient Funds is here. They're well represented. The club is, I would say. Yeah, I would say. Insufficient Funds. I'm sorry. Somebody just threw something at me, I think. But, this weekend is going to be hot. And I know we've got a weather issue until at least 8 p.m. tonight. And also, something to keep in mind, there are still areas without power. I know in my area, Polk County, I know there's people still without power. I know there's people up in this area. Do me a favor, check on them. Check on them. Check on your neighbors. Check especially on the elderly. Make sure that they're okay. Make sure that they've got, if they don't have electricity, I know that Franklin County and I think Williamson County has some cooling centers that are open. Check with your local emergency management, and I'm sure that they can give you a help. I know they have websites for those things set up. So let's everybody stay cool. Let's not have any heat-related injuries or illnesses because of this. This is just it's bad times, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it because it's gonna possibly rain. Not today. Not now. Not during my show. No, will not happen. So. But one of the reasons we're here, of course, is to talk about the cars that are here and the motorcycles. And I noticed you parked next to my truck. I hope that doesn't take away from the beauty of your car, because you notice that my truck's not the most beautiful thing out there. So, and here comes David. He's hanging his head in shame because of the Prius. I know. We've been talking about David. We've been talking about we talk about your Prius. I'm going to turn it over to the experts here on that. $15,000 budget. What would be a good car for David? Fourth generation Camaro or Trans Am. Okay. I'm taking that it was a personal attack on somebody that's listening. Yeah. David's looking over the Corvette right now. Beautiful, beautiful vet. My gosh. Yeah. There's a couple from Kansas City looking it over earlier, David. So if you're wanting it, you're going to have to snatch it up quick. That's all I can say. Yeah. Isn't that a beautiful car, though? And that's the thing about this. It's I say hobby or lifestyle is something that anybody can, no matter what you drive. Even though I've got my old Ford truck here today, took that on Power Tour. Gary, you guys, Power Tour. Doesn't matter what you have as long as you like what you're driving. Except the Prius. I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. All right, it's official. Okay, I understand. And I'm living on dangerous territory because I'm messing with a lawyer here. And exactly. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm glad David's got a sense of humor like that. But that is really cool. And we're coming out. You still have time to come out. Get on the air. Gary, let's talk about. Let me come over here. I'm actually lucky. Got a birthday coming up next month, so the big milestone. It's not 40 either. So to talk about this because it's not your average everyday Trans Am. It's been on the Power Tour. It's been lots of places. It's a standout. Tell us about the Trans Am.
Well, I guess to start with, I'd have to explain why I have a Trans Am and an older one. It's a second-gen Trans Am. They made the second gen from 1970 to 1981. When I was a young boy, I wanted to go to the movies, and I asked my dad for some money to go to the movies, and he told me I didn't need money for the movies. I needed money for a lawnmower. And I asked him if I could have money for a lawnmower, and he said, no, you need to figure that out too. You'll learn to stand on your own 2 feet. So I went to the junkyard and dragged out 2 old lawnmowers, one with a motor that ran and one that had a good frame, and one with the motor, of course, had a bad frame. And took them home and scrapped one together and made a lawnmower and started mowing yards and going to watch Smokey and the Bandit. It was in theaters then. That would have been around 77, 78. Not for sure. I think it was 78. But anyway, so I started going to the movies and mowing yards. I think I mowed every yard in Marion. I went and seen Smokey and the Bandit 17 times. And then when I turned 16, the 1981 Trans Am came out. And I remember seeing them brand new and thinking, boy, I'd sure love to have one of them. So eventually, you know, I got older and I thought, well, I want one. And then, I mean, I understand, you know, the Smokey and the Bandit looking car. And, but for me, I wanted something a little different looking. So I bought an official pace car, a Daytona 500, NASCAR pace car with the Recaro reclining bucket seats. And they only made 2,000 of them. And then, of course, the horsepower had been robbed off of them in the 80s. So you had the government on you about, you know, catalytic converters and EPA and insurance companies, and, you know, you couldn't afford to drive a sports car really. So I pulled out the original motor and put a 738 horsepower to the ground big block Chevy in it, and I have driven the car pretty much anywhere I want to go. I left my regular factory 308 gears in it. I drag race it. I go to Hot Rod Power Tour. I drive to Dayton, Ohio to Trans Am Nationals. I've put 4,000 miles on it since I built it this winter, and so far so good. I still have a few gremlins I'm working out, but it's just a love and a passion for almost anything you have in life. You know, you get a passion, you just follow it.
And you have, and I admire and respect you for that, because I mean it is a unique car. It really is. And I asked people to come out today, take a look at it, and it's up here. Well, we still have a Hyundai out here too. I won't talk about Brian's car because Brian's cool. So cool people can drive Hyundais like that. That's okay. That's all right. So, but you got that car out here, and you know, you mentioned Power Tour. Going out on that. Now, you said next year you both gonna go on Power Tour together? Okay, and taking the vet. Now, there's probably not more recognizable car anywhere than the Corvette. There really isn't. Let's talk about the 2015 you got right here. What about this one? What's it do? What's it got? And let me get over here so you can. Yeah, tell us.
When I was probably 8 or 10 years old, saving up for everything else. My first car was a Volkswagen Beetle, so I really can't say a whole lot. I saw my first Corvette, 1977. Our neighbor pulled in with it, fell in love with it, and I told my mom and dad I would own one someday. So 30 years later, I bought my first one, 2005. Had that for 5 years, sold that one to my father, and bought this one. It's 8-speed, automatic, 455 horsepower. The cool thing is I went up, my dad lives in Iowa, and drove up there, took this up there to pick him up, and I got 31 miles to the gallon. Wow. In a 455 horsepower car. So technology is great. You still get the power. You still get decent gas mileage if your pedal doesn't go too fast or too far to the ground.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, that's the thing. And you know, something we're talking about, and I'm probably the oldest guy here. Back in the late 60s, when you had talked horsepower, you talked no gas mileage, you talked 300 horses. Oh my God, that was really out of that 400 engine, you're getting 300 horses. Wow, street screamer. Now, you know, 6-cylinder engines are getting 300 horse, and it's like standard. Like, yeah, there's your car. I think we live in the golden age of horsepower right now. I really do.
Technology.
Yes.
I think today is the golden age of technology because the cars also handle better than anything
prior to this era of car technology. I mean, they just handle fantastically modern cars.
You know, as far as safety, you know, I know we talk about old cars and we talk about like mine that's 50 years old, and it's got style. It's got style. But as far as safety, yeah, I can't put it up against a newer car. Cars do have safety, handling better, things along those lines. If there was some way we could just merge both of them together, style anymore and safety, I think we'd hit a home run. I really do. What do you think on that?
I agree. I think, you know, a modern interpretation of the 57 Chevy, they'd sell every one they could make. And we'll put the modern drive of a modern, you know, like a Corvette or a Camaro, but lengthen it out, put it in a full-size car that's styling cues from a 57 Chevy or 55 Chevy, or even the mid-60s Chevys, you know, something like that. I think they'd sell the one they make. And it would be safe. Air conditioning work, cruise control work. You know, you can start it up every day and drive it to work if you had to. But I think, you know, the technology and the convenience of a modern car and a classically styled car would be fantastic.
I agree. Now, you know, I'm going to use the F word. Ford is doing away. Ford is doing away, as you've read, is doing away with their sedans. They're crossovers, pickup trucks, and SUVs. Personally, and they never did call me to ask me, I think they're making a mistake. I really think that somewhere down the line they're going to go, oh, well, we made a mistake. Because I drive Fords. You know, I do in Ford products. But I think they're making a mistake because, as we're talking about now, people like the convenience and they like the sportiness of a regular vehicle. Now, they're going to keep the Mustang. But I think they're making a mistake on doing away with completely with all the cars. I really do think that's going to be someplace. I think there'll be I don't know if it probably won't be Chrysler Fiat, and I know GM's doing away with their Impala and things along those lines. But I think there's going to be a place, and it may be taken over by like Toyota or Hyundai or one of those that say, hey, people still say, hey, I want a sedan. I really do. And I don't know. What do you think? Am I wrong on that? What do you think on that?
Well, I agree. I think SUVs are very convenient. You have to have a large family, small family, to be to hold the family around. But I think, you know, the old school station wagons and the sedans, that's what their job was also. And they're lower to the ground and they handle better. I haven't drove an SUV ever. I don't think I've never bought one, never wanted one. But you know, I think, you know, as far as styling goes, I remember when the Magnum came out, the Dodge Magnum. I thought that was a great car, and I even considered buying one when it first came out, you know, the RT version. But they only made them for a couple of years, and then they were gone. I guess the marketing wasn't there for sales. Marketing wasn't there for them. But the SUVs are what everybody wants. You know, they're tall. I guess you could see farther down the road in case of a potential incident ahead of you. So maybe it's a safety factor. I don't know exactly.
Well, you know, one thing I've noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, guys, because, I mean, you guys know more about this than I do, but it seems like if you see a vehicle today, and it is a sedan, Chevy, Ford, whatever, Taurus, whatever, they're not personalized. But you see a pickup or an SUV, somebody has done something to that vehicle, either a grill or something, to personalize that vehicle. So I'm thinking that might be the trend. What happened is they're looking and going, hey, if I want something personalized, I'm going to have to buy a truck or an SUV or something along those lines. Yeah, window tuning.
Yeah, that's about all you can do. I've had SUVs I like just because I lived up north and getting around in the snow. I mean, that's a big four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. I've got an SUV right now, and it's just get rid of the sedans. Do it for a while, but eventually they start reintroducing them. Yeah, I can see Ford's mistake. We made a mistake. Yeah,
Wouldn't be the first time for Ford, but and again, I drive them, so. But you know, let me ask: will anybody admit to having a minivan? Okay. I just want to make sure. I did. I had one. Now, I want to tell you this happened. A gentleman came to my door after I bought this. It was actually a Mazda minivan. It was 4-wheel drive, so it was cool. I actually bought it. Guy came to my door and demanded my man card because I was driving a minivan. And while I had the car, I was without my card. And as soon as I got rid of it, they brought my man card back to me. But yeah, I don't think anybody admits that minivans. It's amazing. But okay, all right. So Gary's like, okay. Okay. See, there you go. Okay, all right, okay. But so what's the future plans, Gary, on the car right now? What's some of the things you're thinking about adding to, or like I said, you got a few gremlins right now, but what's some of the other things that you're talking about? Any cool shows? I know you want Bandit Run and things like that. What any other cool shows coming up?
Yeah, I did the Snowman's Run this year, and I did it's a hot rod power tour, and I enjoy my car a lot. Like this morning, I mean, I know a lot of car people. Like, I don't really want to say real car people, but people that really enjoy driving their cars or motorcycles, I'll say. Like, Clint got up this morning. He probably went for a little ride first. Am I right?
Yeah.
See?
That's cool.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, before it gets hot. And I'm the same way. I got up at 6 this morning, walked my dog, got me a little bite to eat at Hardee's, went and got the car out, and just for no reason at all, drove to Harrisburg. And we on Sundays, a lot of times, no, we're not doing it now, but we have a cruise. You could probably look us up. What's it called? Southern Illinois Cruisers. Southern Illinois Cruisers. And and we get together a lot of Sunday mornings, especially through the winter. Right now, car shows are going on, so we've kind of backed off of it. But we get together on Sunday mornings, usually about 1:30ish, and we pick a destination about an hour away, and we drive to that destination. Usually, it's somewhere to eat, and I may or may not be a little bit overweight, and then we all sit together. We've had as many as 30 cars, and then we drive home, and it's a really good time. I think, for me, I've always really been into car shows, but I seem to be walking away from that more into the sport of being involved in functions that I drive my car, because that's what I really enjoy to do. But you was asking if I had any more plans for the car. I plan in August to go to Trans Am Nationals, and then there's a town called Pontiac, Illinois. It has a lot of automobile memorability. Whether you had a Pontiac or not, you should visit that little town. It's almost like going to Mayberry. It's like going back in town. It has a little square, a lot of little buildings, a lot of nice little places to eat. The prices are reasonable. The people are very inviting. There's a Pontiac museum there that has a lot of cars and oil can collection like nothing I've ever seen. I think he said he has 50,000 oil cans. I mean, it's an incredible little town. We go there usually a couple times a year. It's about, what, a 5-hour drive from here, Clint?
Yeah.
And but we do stuff like that a lot. Like we've got a group called, like Chris said, Insufficient Funds, and we get together and drive to different car shows that are far away from here. But I guess plans for the car, I guess I'm planning on putting a 200 shot of nitrous oxide on it, and a few other little tweaks like that to get where I want it to be. But we're happy with the car and driving it, and it's a flashy car, and
If you need to move some earth, call Neat Cut Dirt Work. You've heard the Neat Cut name for years.
They can do topsoil, fill dirt, tear buildings or houses down, dozer work. You name it, Neat Cut can move some earth. Neat Cut Dirt Work in Marion. Call 922-4400. 922-4400. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. Neat Cut Dirt Work in Marion. 922-4400.
In a galaxy far, far away,
Actually, in Marion.
there was a threat to all mankind.
Well, maybe not all mankind.
A computer was about to explode.
Okay, so maybe not explode, but there was a computer on the fritz. Same difference.
Fortunately, the Sci-Fi guy was close by. He heard his number being dialed. In the blink of an eye, the Sci-Fi guy was there fixing the computer.
Okay.
For Southern Illinois Wireless Internet isn't a superhero in real life, but they might as well be. So the next time your computer's on the fritz, call the nerds first. Call the people who are reliable, fast, dependable, trustworthy, smart, and locally owned at the first sign of trouble. For Southern Illinois Wireless Internet, don't cry. Call the Sci-Fi guy at 997-7494. That's 997-SCI-Y. 997-SIWI.
Okay.
Thank goodness we're able to defend challengers. Just to let you know. Like, all right, we're back, and we have a purple Challenger that has showed up, and some great folks too. So some more from Insufficient Funds, and this is basically the same group that came to Golconda, and they're here today too. So the rest of you, I'm thinking, what did I do? I'm taking it personal. They go, oh, it's Chris Hahn. Well, show up. No, it's him. But no, thank goodness you're here because again, we wanted to defend challengers. Not that there's been anything said. About challengers. I have friends that drive challengers. I got friends that drive challengers. You should get my friends. Is it? Oh. Boom, boom. Wow. Oh, I also. Now, but before you guys got here, there was a reference made to the Three Stooges, and then they said no, Three Musketeers. Yeah, you missed that part. Yeah, and so. Yeah. It was a little bit, but we're out here, and it is not that hot. Now, if you look at me, I'm fat, so I'm going to sweat if it's like 30 below zero. But it's not that bad. And I do appreciate it. Like I said, it was a little quick, thrown together type event. It wasn't something that been planned for months or that. So, because when you do that, you go, hey, if Chris Hans, well, it's what, next month? Oh, I'm going to have to think now about some reason not to go. Just what can I do? But, no, just kidding around. Glad you came. We're broadcasting, if you notice, on 98.5. The AM is been knocked out by the storm, and so we're broadcasting on 98.5 FM, WGGH right here. I want to talk about the cycle. I'm going to leave the motorcycle out, and it is a Harley Davidson, and it is a beautiful bike. Right here, and give us a little background on this beautiful Harley that you got here right now. And then I'll take it for a spin. And then Gary will take it for a spin, and he'll give you the keys to his car because, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's right.
That's a 2013 Ultra, Electric Glide Ultra. I've had Harleys since 1989. Since they made the Evo motors, and they've got pretty dependable. And I've had really good. Luck with all my Harley Davidsons, and this one has been from Texas to Nova Scotia, and I've been to 46 states on motorcycles in 3 Canadian provinces. So that was kind of my passion for like 25 years. And now I'm starting to get back into my cars, and I got a 79 Camaro and a 99 Trans Am that I'm taking to a lot of car shows now, and kind of reinvigorating my enthusiasm for the car show and the car hobby.
It's a beautiful bike. I've never ridden a bike. I've never had one, and I'm not saying this to be sympathy or anything along those lines. Well, no, and that's a good question. Yeah. I've heard the expression "lay it down." That's probably what would happen, and that would not turn out well. Oh, okay. Well, cool. All right. So I'm gonna keep them talking. I'll get on the bike. But even when I'm out and riding around in the car in the truck, I don't think people look for motorcycles, and I still, to this day, as much as we put out there, what have you had any? Like, I want to say, any close calls or?
Well, my experience is usually if they see you, they'll make room for you. But like you said, with the cell phone, everybody's got a cell phone, and even though there's laws that say they can't use the cell phone when they're driving, a lot of people do, and it's just you got to make sure that they notice you. And a lot of Harley riders put the loud pipes on their bikes just for that, so that you can hear them coming around. I don't know how successful that is, with the air conditioner running and the stereo running, and they're playing with their car. But it's a struggle. You have to have the mentality that they don't see you, and then you kind of train yourself to ride your bike defensively, and and act like that you're just out there all by yourself, and that nobody knows you're there, and anybody could cut over on you or pull out in front of you at any time. So it's kind of a mental state you have to develop. And I've been doing it for 30 years, and like I said, I've been all over the country. So it's kind of automatic for me. When I'm on my bike, I get hyperactive, as far as looking for threats whenever I'm on my motorcycles, compared to maybe driving a car.
I've got to ask, and I've seen this, and I'll show my ignorance here. It's okay to be ignorant. It's when you're stupid, it's bad. But I see a lot of times motorcycles will pass each other, and they'll do that with the hand. Is that just like a hand down, or what is that? That's not a gang sign or anything, is it? No. It's
kind of an acknowledgement of a brother or sister that's riding a motorcycle, and we recognize the exuberance of riding a motorcycle, and also the risks of riding a motorcycle. And it's kind of a brotherhood, a sisterhood that are willing to take that risk, because we all know the potential if something happened on a motorcycle. You don't have airbags, you don't have seat belts, you don't have a 4,000 or 5,000 pounds of steel and plastic around you. It's just you on a motorcycle that something happens, you're going to be ejected off that motorcycle and slide down the highway, and bad things happen if something like that happens. So it's kind of an acknowledgement that we share a bond of brotherhood and sisterhood when we ride our motorcycles.
That's great. I learned something today. Again, it's all right to be ignorant. It's bad to be stupid. And so now I know, and I hope maybe that helps everybody out there too, because you keep an eye, please, for the motorcyclists. Really do that. My son rides a Harley, and so I have a special reason too, also, but also all you guys and gals that ride. So Gary is encouraging that because is that his? Well, it's not his bike, right? If it was his bike, you'd be like, oh no, wait a minute, yeah. I just like everybody's steps. Really? So today, you think, Gary? Really? Maybe that would be. Yeah. Somebody have a video camera, and we could probably make $10,000 on that video show. Probably. Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Designed to crash.
Yeah.
Designed to survive a crash. I mean, small crash.
Yeah. Of course, at my age, I don't know if I'm designed to survive a crash. So it's there was a time, but and we
classic, and the class means she's got the script Challenger on the side and things. Her name is Violet, and she's got a whole beautiful underbody glow kit that I, with the help of the hubs, did. And I needed his long arms for some of that. And then she has lots of birthday presents and Christmas presents from all the family on her, with a complete kit underneath the hood, so it's a whole engine dress-up kit. So a lot of fun to drive, a lot of fun to cruise in, and nobody is allowed to eat in her.
Oh, well, oh my goodness, really. I know you looked over at your husband like, is that, there's not a problem with that, is there? I mean, but...
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What kind of truck have you got?
I've got a 2013 GMC with a 6.2 liter motor, class 3. It's got a 233.
He goes for power, I go for beauty.
And it's different also.
That's great. And see, you know, here, right here, we have a mixture of older classics, newer classics, motorcycles, a Ford, and my pickup. I'll put on the back there. I thought about putting a caution grandpa driving because speaking of being stupid fast or silly fast, that thing is not the fastest in the world. And they had the Power Tour route that you're supposed to take, and everybody would see you and wave at you and all that. I just stuck to the interstates. I was like, no, there's nothing to see here, folks. Just move on, please. Just move on. But you know, this is what the car hobby is. It really is. And not only that, but we're sitting here talking, having fun, and enjoying the day. Right. Have a little fun. It's not exactly. It's not. You know, if people take offense when you're just kidding around about vehicles or about brands and things like that, this may not be the hobby for you. You may want to find something else. You know, it's like I was talking about the Power Tour. It's hot. It's long. It can be aggravating, and if that bothers you, you may want to take a year or two off and go on a Power Tour. You know, you may want to find something else to do because, you know. Yeah, exactly. But one's prettier, one's faster. So you got to decide which one you want to go with. So, but yeah, that is very unique Challenger. I like that. Again, we have a pretty good collection of vehicles here. Not a whole bunch, but we've got a collection. So come on out. We still got a few minutes. Let me check the time here. Oh, yeah, we still got a few minutes to go. But I know that towards the end of the program, Brian is going to talk about some of the things that are coming up with Monster Radio. I know we've got some new programming. Among the new programming, we feature local musicians with original music, their original music, and it's from 7 to 8 o'clock. So if you are a local musician and you have some demo that's your original music, right here, Monster Radio can feature you on their show. So there you go. Yeah, okay, there you go. Well, right. See, there you go. I can't play on the radio without getting static. So, but there's a lot of things going on here at Monster Radio. We do appreciate it. And I'll try maybe towards the end of the season, maybe when it's cooler, to actually plan something maybe a little bit bigger so people can, make plans to be here or make bigger plans to not be here or something along those lines. And I'm kidding when I say that. I know that, there's a lot of things going on. A lot of people don't take their cars out when it's hot or when it's cold or when the sun's not out or when it snows or when there might be some dew or there might just be, a bird flew by or there's something good on TV. There's something bad on TV. I can't get TV or hey, I do the same thing. I'm sitting there. The reason I'm not driving my car, do you know the reason? Blew a fan belt. Not a big thing. In fact, I'm getting around to doing it, fixing it. So that's the reason. I had a buddy say, hey, I can fix that for you. I said, don't. It's a fan belt, dude. If I can't change a fan belt, then, again, I need to just, pack it up, go home, shut the show down, just say that's it. I am not a car person. So yeah, that's what I've been waiting on. But I've been going to all kinds of different shows, and I recommend that. I really do. I think there's a lot of things, and I know local shows are good. But if you can travel out of the area, I call it our comfort zone, because we like to see the same people and we like to talk to them. We're friends. We're all friends. Again, I traveled last weekend and went to a show with 800 cars, and that's a lot of cars. And it was a beautiful day, hot day, and got to see some unique vehicles. There, it's funny you should mention that. No, it's not really, because we talked before the show. But anyway, yes, there was. There's some very nice Trans Am. In fact, they had them in a pavilion. They actually had them underneath, covered in a pavilion. Yes. They didn't do that with the Challengers. I'm telling you right now, what the heck? What's the deal? That's what I'm thinking. Haters, exactly. Too powerful to be in the pavilion.
It's Chrissy shade.
Yeah. I wondered, because I saw that, and they had the Challengers next to the Mustangs. Now what's going on there?
To keep the Mustangs in line from running into the crowds.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I thought Big Elvis Rock and Roll Show would be here. Oh man, yeah, I thought John Maloney would be here in the Big Elvis Rock and Roll Show, but I don't know where he's at. Thought he'd be here. Yeah, he does the Big Elvis Rock and Roll Show. Come on down, but yeah, I don't know. He was, and I don't mean to talk about John, but I do. I guess I'm going to get on this, but oh yeah, but I might get in trouble or get hit or something like that, but. The other day, the Direct Show came in, and they had tornado warnings and all these things going on. I'm going to mention this is non-car related. So I'm in the office, emergency management, and I'm going checking the radar, and I see the live video come on, and it's a John, and he's on the front porch of his mom's, and he goes, "Oh, there's at this store, yeah." And next thing I was thinking about seeing, old Mrs. What's her name on the bicycle from Dorothy from Wizard of Oz. I'm like. I called him. I said, John, there's a tornado in the area. I'm okay. I'm up here on the porch. So all I can say is be careful, everybody. Be careful. We got through that, and there are still people without power in the area. So check on your neighbors, especially the elderly. Check on those people. Now that the wife's over there, I want to talk to you more about your truck. Have you ever head-to-head raced with truck against the car?
Possibly.
Possibly, okay. Okay, if it just on a possibility, which one would have possibly have come out ahead?
Car, truck links ahead, maybe.
Okay. Okay. Oh, hi. Hey, we were just talking about different things in the area. And we were just talking about cars and trucks and, things like that. Uh-oh. Oh, that's true. When... while I didn't mention this, and I've been doing this, I've been doing my Holiday World giveaway. And I did it last week, and I had 2 tickets. And I guess for everybody that's here, we could do 2 tickets if anybody's interested. I don't know how we can't have a race, or can we? Yeah. Yeah, we can go around right here and do something like that. But no, I'll probably because I can't get to the phones, so I know what people want. They're listening. So we'll wait till next week. I'm sorry, guys. I know I'll do it next week. I know, but I'll do a trivia question again. It'll be simple. It won't be. It's coming from me, so it's going to be a simple trivia question. But we'll do that, and then the last week, I'm going to be giving away 2 tickets to Six Flags. So yeah, and I think that's courtesy of the station here in Six Flags and Holiday World. Yeah, Big Elvis Rock and Roll Show. more music coming from Big Elvis right here. And yeah, wherever he's at right now, he's probably, I wish he'd quit doing that. Don't talk that way. No. And I've been with John. A lot of shows, a lot of car shows John and I have been to, Power Tour, things along those lines. And John works midnights. I don't know if you guys know this, but he works midnights. And he's probably sleeping right now. And if it was a car show, he would be sleeping right now. We'd go up there, John, are you asleep? Oh, no, just resting my eyes. I wasn't sleeping. But, yeah, it's a lot of fun. That's what it's about. This is what it's about. We got more shows coming up in the week. And is there any? I know that we talked about the cruise in Southern Illinois. Is there any cruises coming up that you can think of right now that's going to be happening, or is there some places? What's one of the favorite places that you want to go?
Okay. There's a really cool site on Facebook, page on Facebook called So Ill Cruisers. Y'all need to check it out because we do, weekly, unless somebody's sick, hurt, or on vacation. We try to do weekly cruises around Southern Illinois and see some of the beautiful sights. We love to go down to the Garden of Gods and to Giant City and Fern Cliff. We like to hit some of the beautiful nature around Southern Illinois. And those roads are a lot of fun to drive. Now, we are going at the speed limit and driving appropriately. Yeah, Garrett. But it's a good time, and all kinds of cars are welcome. We've had everything from brand new modern GTRs to 50s pickup trucks. Yeah, really, really, really fun. So anything's welcome, even Mustangs. Did I just say that? So y'all check that out. It's a good time.
Yeah, John asked.
Yeah, he's been. John's been along too. It's like he's here today. Really, it's like he's here today. So, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've seen the cruises, and you guys go all over. And it's not, when I say it's not organized, I mean it's not like I mean it's not like set in stone every this, that, and yeah. Yeah. So, and it's cool. Some people just like to just drive around and drive their cars. So that's basically what's going on, and I appreciate this was impromptu also.
We need to put one plug in.
Yes.
Insufficient Funds is helping out with this show. It's called KJ Rocks, and it's in Cesar on July 14th. It's a really, really cool show with lots of other events happening around it. There's going to be bands and kid activities, and then also the car show during the daylight hours. And it's all for charity, for students and children. So it's a really, really, really good thing. Get on the websites for Insufficient Funds, take a look, and you'll see some stuff about KJ Rocks, Hot Rod Nights, got it on their website too. Definitely check that out, because it's going to be a good time for people to show and for spectators just to come in and hang out.
Cool. There you go. Yeah. Yes, you are. Yes, I don't know if they may be looking. I don't know, Brian, if they're looking for somebody to do commercials here, we may have found somebody there. So just check that out. That is good. It is going to be a good show. And I had them on my my show talking about the background of the KJ Rocks, which is, again, and folks, if you don't have a car, truck, motorcycle, and you just come as a spectator, that's cool too, because many of these shows are dealing with I just got a package shipped from Amazon, sent me a message. Thank you, Amazon. Commercial for them. So, and a lot of these are charity shows. So when you show up and you support these shows, you're supporting a charity, you're supporting somebody local to help out. And isn't that great? It really, really is. And this is great. I understand it was hot. But you guys came out, guys and gal came out, and I do appreciate it. And I'm trying to see here if Brian's going to be taking over. Yes, I think he's going to be jumping in right now. So, Brian, we're going to turn it over to you. Everybody, please remember, thank you again, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. Everybody, remember, take a kid to car show. They are our future. They have the hobby. So, everybody, take them to the shows. And, again, everybody that's here today and everybody's listening, thank you so much. Brian, it's over to you.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. And we've got about 4 minutes left in the show, but I'll take it here for just a few minutes. We'll let you know what's coming up on Monster Radio. Of course, Saturday morning, our lineup has changed a little bit as far as local programming is concerned. Of course, at 7 o'clock, you heard Southern Illinois local music, and that's a very good program, and we hope to expand that and get more music coming in. So if you're a local artist and you're wanting a platform to promote your local music, you can get in touch by going to our website, which is wggh.net, and on the top of the page, there's a menu bar below the Monster Radio logo, and look on the far right where it says Submit Music, and when you click on Submit Music, it will take you to a page and has a form you have to fill out with your name, email address, phone number, and your audio to upload, and then a brief summary and description about the song. Now, we ask that it be radio-friendly, no bad lyrics or any of that stuff. We don't want to have to put bleep, put the beep, beep, or any of that stuff in there. We don't want to have extra work if we don't have to. So, anyway, we want to hear your local music. That's on every Saturday morning from 7 to 8 a.m., Southern Illinois local music. Then at 8 o'clock, it is Dateline Marion, the radio program. Tim, if you're listening out there, Tim Petrovich, great inaugural show this morning with Steve Webb running for 59th District here in the state of Illinois. Again, great broadcast this morning. That will be a local community affairs program heard every Saturday morning starting at 8 o'clock and running until 8:30. And then just a short time ago, you heard David Lawler's Hometown Heroes. Had a guest on, Mike Pinto, the manager of the Southern Illinois Miners, but he's also a public speaker. Very, very nice gentleman. And David Lawler does drive a Prius, so Chris Hahn has plenty of things to humiliate him about. But anyway, great program about people who give back to their community in Southern Illinois, and that is David Lawler's Hometown Heroes, 8:30 to 9 on Saturday. Of course, this show, SI Car News with Chris Hahn, is on right now till 10 o'clock. At 10 a.m., it'll be Dare to Care with Dr. Elaine Jerkowski, and she's going to have guest Eric Evelyn on the show to talk about the 4th of July, and that show is coming up next. At 10:30, we are happy to welcome back to Monster Radio, 98.5 and 11:50 a.m., Rob Fairless with the 25th Hour Radio Show. That'll be on from 10:30 until 11, and then our syndicated talk programming from 11 a.m. till essentially midnight on Saturdays has changed. Our lineup has switched around a little bit, and we want to run that down for you. From 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., it is Popular Technology Radio. That show used to air on Saturday evenings from 8 to 10 p.m., but we are now happy to announce that show will now be on from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. in the daytime on Saturdays. Popular Technology Radio, all the latest news and information in the world of tech. From 1 to 2 o'clock, it'll be the Best of Mike Gallagher, a shortened edition of the Best of Mike Gallagher. 2 to 4 o'clock, NASCAR USA will continue to come your way with hot country music as well as the latest news in the world of NASCAR. They are racing this weekend up in Chicago. From 4 to 5 o'clock, it'll be the Town Hall Weekend Journal hosted by Hugh Hewitt. They're going to have a 4th of July show coming your way today, all about the history of America, and that should be a very good show. From 5 to 7 o'clock, it is On the House with the Carey brothers and Cameron, all things home improvement. They answered practically any question you have as far as home repair is concerned. From 7 to 9 o'clock, the Travel Planners Radio Show with Kevin and Sue McCarthy. And some of you may not know, but that program is actually done out of St. Louis, just literally in our backyard of Southern Illinois, the Travel Planners Show with Kevin and Sue McCarthy. And then from 9 o'clock to midnight, we are happy to welcome a new show, live syndicated show called Arc of Midnight, hosted by John B. Wells. And then from midnight to 4 a.m. tonight and then tomorrow morning, the best of Jimbo Hannon. Real Estate Today, that used to be heard on Saturday nights from 10 p.m. to midnight, will now be heard on Sunday mornings beginning at 4 a.m. and running until 6 a.m. And then after that, we will be going into our Sunday morning church programming. Quick reminder, Chicago White Sox at the Texas Rangers tonight. Our coverage gets underway around 7:30 on Monster Radio and 98.5 FM. And we do apologize about our AM transmitter. We will remind you again that our AM is down right now due to some technical issues that were caused by the storm on Tuesday night. So again, we ask for your patience while we get the AM fixed. But again, you can find us at 98.5 FM. And when the White Sox are not playing, you can pick us up anywhere in the world at WGGH.net. That's going to do it for SI Car News. Stay with us on this Saturday on Monster Radio 98.5 FM and on AM 1150. Dare to Care starts right now.
Baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star. Baby,
WGGH Marion.
Opinions are like, well, you know, everybody has one. The views and opinions expressed on the programming heard on AM 1150 are those of the host, not necessarily those of the ownership or management of AM 1150. If you have a concern or comment and want your voice to be heard, call the community line 618-997-2305 and voice your opinion now. Or visit WGGH.net.
Welcome to Dare to Care. This is Dr. Elaine Jerkowski. We're welcoming you on this wonderful best 4th of July-ish free weekend. And I am joined today with one of our favorite co-hosts who's been away for a while, Mr. Eric Eblin. Welcome back to our show, Eric.
Glad to be back. Thank you.
It's great to have you, and it's great to hear your voice as part of our show.
Well, I'm glad to be back. It's been a while, and glad to talk about the 4th of July and talk about the revolution here.
Good. Well, so this weekend is a prequel to our 4th of July, which is a wonderful celebration in the United States, our Independence Day celebration. And as a former veteran, I shouldn't say former because you're always a veteran, aren't you?
Yes, it's kind of a veteran, or like my daughter's a Marine. It's once a Marine, always a Marine, a veteran, or a Ranger, you're always a Ranger. So that's kind of in my family.
I thought it would be fitting to have you on as a guest to share a little bit about 4th of July, some of the history. I also know that your mother was a daughter of the American Revolution, so I thought all of these kinds of themes going to help illustrate why we celebrate the 4th of July and what gives it so much significance.
Yes, no, that's love to talk about it here. Sounds great.
All right. Well, I know that we are celebrating, of course, the Declaration of the Independence from July 4th of 1776.
Right. Well,
so way back then, we didn't have 50 states. We only had a handful of colonies, right?
13 colonies.
13 colonies.
Right.
Who used to be part of the British Empire.
Yes, they did. It's funny, when I was in London, they talked to me about that a lot when I was over in England, about the so it somehow sometimes comes up in a lot of conversations, and so they always like to hear our take of what we were taught. So it's always interesting.
Yeah. So as an American, what kinds of things did you remember being taught about that?
I kind of have
independence.
On Independence Day, I have kind of a double thinking about independence, and the reason is because of we was talking about the Daughters of America Revolution. Since my family has been in the Revolution all the way, like I said, I've told this in past radio, when we did radio in the past here, that actually my family was in the Revolution, and actually our last name has shown up, and so we actually helped capture at the very end of the Revolution Cornwallis at the end, and help end part of the Revolution. So so that kind of made a different meaning for me, because I really studied into the Revolution because of our family being there and actually part of history and the history books, and that kind of made it a little bit more different for me because of our family and my mom being a DAR. That made a little difference.
I do recall we did a show several years ago with your mother talking about the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Yes, I sure do. I listened to that not too long ago, so I was kind of missing my mom and her being gone, and now both my daughters now are DARs, and and most of my nieces, and I have one youngest daughter still that's going to be DAR. Well, they have to be 18 to be one, so. Yeah, so it kind of goes well, and certain settings and things, and it's something my mom took a lot of pride in, and the younger generation didn't quite get it, but I think my mom taught them enough to, to understand why DAR is important. So it's kind of.
Well, I want to come back to DAR,
sure,
but and talk a bit about it in our show, and I want to get those sidetracked from, first of all, talking about the meaning of Independence Day and why we celebrate, and then move back into the DAR piece.
This is the Sunday rebroadcast of SI Car News.
As
No
a,
phone calls.
as a veteran, tell us a bit about, you mentioned you have two
Sing the computer.
of significance.
Okay.
One is being a veteran yourself, and then the second one is the DAR piece. So how, I mean, we now, today, people celebrate Independence Day, fireworks,
This is Chris Hahn,
parades,
and this
barbecues.
is the Sunday
But as a veteran, when you're in the military, tell us a bit about how all of that plays itself out.
All right, Chris, thank you so much.
Well,
We've got
as a
about
child,
4
of course, I
minutes
enjoyed
left
the
in the show,
fireworks
but
and all
I'll take it here for just a few minutes. We'll let you know.
The fun part about cookouts and watermelon and hamburgers, and we did that as a family, and we thought about it. Of course, a lot of my family being veterans, we had to be kind of at a distance with the fireworks because of the booms and things.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. We've got about
Oh,
4 minutes
yeah, I
left in
think
the
people
show,
don't
but
tend
I'll
not
take
to
it
think
here for
about
just
that,
a
but
few
I'm sure
minutes.
that
We'll let
that
you know what's
brings
coming up
about
on Monster Radio. Of
some,
course, Saturday morning, our
unpleasant
lineup has
memories.
changed a little bit as far as local programming is concerned. Of course, at 7 o'clock, you heard Southern Illinois local music, and that's a very good program, and we hope to expand that and get more music coming in. So if you're a local artist and you're wanting a platform to promote your local music, you can get in touch by going to our website, which is wggh.net, and on the top of the page there's a menu bar below the Monster Radio logo. Look on the far right where it says Submit Music, and when you click on Submit Music, it will take you to a page and has a form you have to fill out with your name, email address, phone number, and your audio to upload, and then a brief summary and description about the song. Now, we ask that it be radio-friendly, no bad lyrics or any of that stuff. We don't want to have to put bleep, put the beep, beep, or any of that stuff in there. We don't want to have extra work if we don't have to. So, anyway, we want to hear your local music. That's on every Saturday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. Southern Illinois local music. Then at 8 o'clock, it is Dateline Marion, the radio program. Tim, if you're listening out there, Tim Petrovich, great inaugural show this morning with Steve Webb running for 59th District here in the state of Illinois. Again, great broadcast this morning. That will be a local community affairs program heard every Saturday morning starting at 8 o'clock and running until 8:30. And then just a short time ago, you heard David Lawler's Hometown Heroes. Had a guest on, Mike Pinto, the manager of the Southern Illinois Miners, but he's also a public speaker. Very, very nice gentleman. And David Lawler does drive a Prius, so Chris Hahn has plenty of things to humiliate him about. But anyway, great program about people who give back to their community in Southern Illinois, and that is David Lawler's Hometown Heroes, 8:30 to 9 on Saturday. Of course, this show, SI Car News with Chris Hahn, is on right now till 10 o'clock. At 10 a.m., it'll be Dare to Care with Dr. Elaine Jerkowski, and she's going to have guest Eric Evelyn on the show to talk about the 4th of July, and that show is coming up next. At 10:30, we are happy to welcome back to Monster Radio, 98.5 and 11:50 a.m. Rob Fairless with the 25th Hour Radio Show. That'll be on from 10:30 until 11, and then our syndicated talk programming from 11 a.m. till essentially midnight on Saturdays has changed. Our lineup has switched around a little bit, and we want to run that down for you. From 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., it is Popular Technology Radio. That show used to air on Saturday evenings from 8 to 10 p.m., but we are now happy to announce that show will now be on from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. in the daytime on Saturdays. Popular Technology Radio, all the latest news and information in the world of tech. From 1 to 2 o'clock, it'll be the Best of Mike Gallagher, a shortened edition of the Best of Mike Gallagher. To the 4 o'clock, NASCAR USA will continue to come your way with hot country music as well as the latest news in the world of NASCAR. They are racing this weekend up in Chicago. From 4 to 5 o'clock, it'll be the Town Hall Weekend Journal hosted by Hugh Hewitt. They're going to have a 4th of July show coming your way today, all about the history of America, and that should be a very good show. From 5 to 7 o'clock, it is On the House with the Carey Brothers and Cameron. All things home improvement. They answered practically any question you have as far as home repair is concerned. From 7 to 9 o'clock, the Travel Planners Radio Show with Kevin and Sue McCarthy. And some of you may not know, but that program is actually done out of St. Louis, just literally in our backyard of Southern Illinois. The Travel Planners Show with Kevin and Sue McCarthy. And then from 9 o'clock to midnight, we are happy to welcome a new show, live syndicated show called Arc of Midnight, hosted by John B. Wells. And then from midnight to 4 a.m. tonight and then tomorrow morning, the best of Jimbo Hannon. Real Estate Today, that used to be heard on Saturday nights, from 10 p.m. to midnight will now be heard on Sunday mornings beginning at 4 a.m. and running until 6 a.m. And then after that, we will be going into our Sunday morning church programming. Quick reminder, Chicago White Sox at the Texas Rangers tonight. Our coverage gets underway around 7:30 on Monster Radio.
The reason I say that
and 98.5 FM, and we do apologize about our AM transmitter. We will remind you again that our AM is down right now due to some technical issues that were caused by the storm on Tuesday night. So again, we ask for your patience while we get the AM fixed. But again, you can find us at 98.5 FM, and when the White Sox are not playing, you can pick us up anywhere in the world at WGGH.net. That's going to do it for SI Car News. Stay with us on this Saturday on Monster Radio 98.5 FM and on AM 1150. Dare to Care starts right now.
On some of the areas, I was kind of like, wow, there's a souvenir shop and this and that and pictures of that, and I just sat there and looked at it, kind of shocked.
Radio show that'll be on from 10:30 until 11, and then our syndicated talk programming from 11 a.m. till essentially midnight on Saturdays has changed. Our lineup has switched around a little bit, and we want to run that down for you. From 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., it is Popular Technology Radio. That show used to air on Saturday evenings from 8 to 10 p.m., but we are now happy to announce that show will now be on from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. in the daytime on Saturdays. Popular Technology Radio, all the latest news and information in the world of tech. From 1 to 2 o'clock, it'll be the Best of Mike Gallagher, a shortened edition of the Best of Mike Gallagher. To the 4 o'clock, NASCAR USA will continue to come your way with hot country music as well as the latest news in the world of NASCAR. They are racing this weekend up in Chicago. From 4 to 5 o'clock, it'll be the Town Hall Weekend Journal hosted by Hugh Hewitt. They're going to have a 4th of July show coming your way today, all about the history of America. And that should be a very good show. From 5 to 7 o'clock, it is On the House with the Carey brothers and Cameron.
We really do.
All things home improvement.
We should always remember that.
Answer practically any question you have as far as home repair is concerned. From 7 to 9 o'clock, the Travel Planners Radio Show with Kevin and Sue McCarthy. And some of you may not know, but that program is actually done out of St. Louis, just literally in our backyard of Southern Illinois. The Travel Planners Show with Kevin and Sue McCarthy. And then from 9 o'clock to midnight, we are happy to welcome a new show, live syndicated show called Art of Midnight, hosted by John B. Wells. And then from midnight to 4 a.m. tonight and then tomorrow morning, the Best of Jimbo Hannon. Real Estate Today, that used to be heard on Saturday nights from 10 p.m. to midnight, will now be heard on Sunday mornings beginning at 4 a.m. and running until 6 a.m. And then after that, we will be going into our Sunday morning church programming. Quick reminder, Chicago White Sox at the Texas Rangers tonight. Our coverage gets underway around 7:30 on Monster Radio. And 98.5 FM, and we do apologize about our AM transmitter. We will remind you again that our AM is down right now due to some technical issues that were caused by the storm on Tuesday night. So again, we ask for your patience while we get the AM fixed. But again, you can find us at 98.5 FM, and when the White Sox are not playing, you can pick us up anywhere in the world at WGGH.net. That's going to do it for SI Car News. Stay with us on this Saturday on Monster Radio 98.5 FM and on AM 1150. Dare to Care starts right now.
She's sensitive anyway in those areas, but she was just anyway. They said in the history professor at school called me and says, "Boy, we talk about wars. Your daughter's very passionate about it." And I said, "Well, she has a reason to be. Some of the things you talked about is places I fought in." So that's, and her grandfather and so forth. And so she learned a lot just by listening to stories of what we actually been through. And so she said, "I read the book, Dad, or now computer." She said, "It just doesn't give us any real, like, when you sit there and talked about it, I saw you tears in your eyes, or Grandpa with tears in his eyes. And I saw my grandfather the same way, and more passionate about it." She said these books and these computers don't really give it the justice of what it means to be free. And so she said it changed of how lucky I am to be here, and so it was a good thing. So
that's beautiful. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
So how many generations does your family go back to people who are veterans?
We have never broken a line since the Revolutionary War. We have every generation all the way back.
Really?
All the way up to my daughter, Heather, that's a Marine, and her husband's a Marine. And, all the way, it's never, and we didn't know this ourselves, but they did it. They came out and presented my dad and me and my grandfather a flag with 13 stars on it in celebration, and that they said that our name kept popping up over and over and over and over again, from the Civil War to so forth. And I don't know who gets paid to do this, but it must be a pretty good job. But they basically, went through it and found out, and we didn't know this ourselves. We just knew that we always serve. Our family example. I served, my sister served, my brother served. That's just in, my dad, and that's just my family, immediate family alone. So, and I love my cousins, so we're just a military family. And so, yeah, that's kind of, and then on my mom's side, they served too in the Revolutionary War and in the Civil War. And we served on both sides in the Civil War, South and North. So, I don't know why we're a military family, but it's just something how our name actually came up was because we were kicked out of the Church of England officially and put on the books because of during the Revolutionary War, when there was certain areas, I guess, I'm not sure how that happened, but certain areas and the Reverend did not want guns into the church, and our family refused to put the guns down while we were in the service. And because of that, we kept doing it, and pretty soon he dismissed us and sent a letter back to England, removing us officially from the Church of England. And so our name came down.
Wow.
So that was kind of interesting to find out.
It's a great story, actually.
Yeah. I said, yep, sounds like ours. So, yeah, that's kind of...
Well, that goes back to, the 1700s or 1800s?
Back to 1775.
The removal of your family from the Church of England.
Yeah. So it's been, I don't know what now that happens, but yeah, it's still, those documents actually are, it's kind of funny because those are important documents now that we wouldn't have shown up so much in the history books, and then they tied it eventually to George Washington. But anyway, that's where our name popped up, two different places in England, and that kept the records there, and then in our history books here. So it's kind of, and we got all the and we got everything, because one of my family is a professor that teaches genealogy, so he's very thorough about documenting it correctly. So, yeah, so it's kind of interesting.
That is really very interesting. Well, I heard that on some military bases, they fire off shots, a gunshot for each state in the United States, or as a salute to the Union, on noon on Independence Day. Is that something you've experienced, and what's that all like? And tell us about it.
No, I haven't personally experienced that. I'm usually always took my holidays and left during that time. During the 4th of July, I always usually was gone. And but yeah, no, they make a big deal about it, and they sure do. We're very. You think we're patriotic? Be on a military base. Because we've got a lot of people there that's fighting and in arm's way at all times, and so it's very deep. It's felt so deeply that, well, just example, if you're at a military base and at the end of the day when they bring down the flag, all cars, everything stops. The whole entire base shuts down. Everybody gets out of their cars, salutes, looks toward the flag, as the bugle plays. That's how important it is as far as the flag and our freedom. So, yeah, so, but yeah, it's, something important. But that's how we kind of got connected, and then connected into becoming a DAR and so forth. So from starting.
So let's talk a little bit more about the Daughters of the American Revolution, because it sounds like you've got many generations of women in your family that have observed the Daughters Creed and been a part of the Daughters.
Yes, they have. They become a DAR. You have to be able to trace your roots back to that your family was in the American Revolution, and it must be recorded in there in D.C. and where they keep it. I believe it's D.C. And showing your family is, that is there, and that's really important. And for as far as if not, you have to do that to be a DAR. Now, and they have also the Sons of the American Revolution, the same thing. So you can actually be a Son of the American Revolution if you can prove the DAR. So they use the same history, and it shows that that your founding father that would have been part of the revolution, and that's prove that the family's been here or served since then. So at least you just need to find one that has done that, and then be able to trace it all the way back to you. And if it's traceable, then you can become a DAR or Sons of American Revolution. And so that's kind of how that's handled. And so I haven't joined the Sons of American Revolution, not yet. I've been so busy, but yeah, they do they keep a lot of the history alive and fundraisers and so forth.
And do they not have a building with much of that history in the Smithsonian?
I
or
don't.
Somewhere in D.C.
I don't know. I've never been out there to see. If they. I know a lot of. My understanding, and from what I've been told, I haven't looked this up, but is the DAR, a lot of them former presidents' wives and so forth were part of the DAR in the past. And in political is very important at one time in history. It's very important that it gives you more clout being at one time that we've been here since the revolution. And I guess it was important, and you can, nowadays we're sort of a melting pot. That's not necessarily that so vital, but at one time, I'm sure things were still divided. It's like you have even like the Irish and different Germans, and that was all kind of tense. Even here, from my understanding, what history tells us that we only speak English by one vote. Is what I've read. And when they were coming, because there's so many Germans here at the time, they got the English and Germans. I mean, then you had the Irish coming in, and then so that was all kind of a tense situation. And then now you kind of separate that out, and now we're coming more and more, almost keeping part of who we are. But yet, if you look across, look at us in Canada and how close we are to them. And just, where everything's coming blended. I noticed that a lot of where I went, you just, you always find people from your country no matter where you go anywhere more. So it's changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm sure you can probably understand that yourself.
Yeah. Well, so looking up the definition on the Daughters of the American Revolution website, it does state that they're lineage-based, and they're people who directly descended from a person involved in the U.S. efforts towards independence. And as you said, they try to promote history, education, and patriotism.
Yes.
And there is a DAR Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It's the National Society for the Daughters of the American Revolution. Huh. And the organization itself looks like it was founded in 1890 and incorporated in 1896.
Wow. I didn't know it was there.
Kind of looks in. Yeah, I do recall previous year I had that organization on my show, and they were talking to me about their hall in Washington, D.C., which is rich in history. So if anyone in our listening audience, or even you, Eric, and your family, decide to go on a trip to Washington, D.C., it's definitely something to take in.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I have to bring that up about that, because it's something that I know my girls probably be interested in seeing that, because it's, it's part of their history and part of who they are. And actually, my daughter, that's a Marine, was surprised that someone brought it up, because it was, when they ask about your past and so forth, and it was brought up as a DAR, and she said they made, they said that it was important to them. And at the time, she said, I was just 18. She said, I couldn't quite understand why I was being a DAR, but, because there's rich heritage, and the Marines are very big about, one of the things they do is study the heritage of being a Marine, and, showing your family's been in fighting since the Revolution. That was important, being a Marine. And so, I have to tell her about that, because definitely that's interesting. So
yeah, the other thing that I think is really interesting is that this organization formed because there was a group called the Sons of the American Revolution, and they refused to allow women to join their group. So in 1890, a woman named Mary Smith Lockwood, published an article questioning it and saying that the daughters had a place and a role to play. And so the first meeting of the Daughters of the American Revolution Society was held in 1890.
Huh.
Just about a month later, after the Sons refused to allow them into their group.
That's interesting.
So they weren't actually incorporated until 1896, about 6 years later, by an act of Congress.
Huh. And it's funny because of you hear more about the DAR than you do the Sons.
Absolutely, I know. That is what's really funny.
It's kind of reversed the total roles of it, and
yeah. Well, thank you. I want to thank you, Eric, for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's good to have you on our show. We're almost out of time, but I wanted to, just reiterate the whole idea of our celebration that's upon us, the 4th of July.
Yes.
I want to thank you, Eric, for your service to help our country remain independent. And I also want to thank your relatives and ancestors who were all a part of previous iterations of independence and struggle for independence.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. To my listening audience, thank you for being with us today. I hope that today's show has shed a little bit of enlightenment to help all of you be a little more patriotic this year as we celebrate Independence Day on the 4th of July. So with that, have a great weekend, everyone, and have a great 4th of July, and please join us next week on Dare to Care.
Dexter's Yard Care can take all the pain and strain out of maintaining your residential or business lawn. Come on. Think about it. After buying and maintaining the equipment, then all the time and sweating, and of course the gas, it may be more affordable and a lot easier to hire Dexter's Yard Care, and they're 100% fully insured. So if he cuts his foot off in your lawn, you're not responsible for it. Dexter's Yard Care, where they really do care. Call for your free estimate today, 618-926-6645, or facebook.com/Dexter's Yard Care.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go, and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-216-8991. 800-216-8991. Again, that's 800-216-8991.
Monster Radio AM 1150 WGGH is proud to serve our community with Marion Wildcat Sports and high school sporting events from other smaller schools around the area that don't usually get radio promotion, like Johnston City, Goreville, and Crab Orchard. And we have local talk shows, as well as local news and weather information. And of course, we'll get your public service or non-charitable organization's message on the air absolutely free. Just call 993-8102 or go to WGGH.net for more info. We're proud to keep Southern Illinois connected.
WGGH Marion.
Opinions are like, well, everybody has one. The views and opinions expressed on the programming heard on AM 1150 are those of the host, not necessarily those of the ownership or management of AM 1150. If you have a concern or comment and want your voice to be heard, call the community line 618-997-2305 and voice your opinion now. Or visit WGGH.net.
The 25th Hour Radio Show.
We have a special guest with us, and we'll be talking to him. And we've never done it this way before, but I'm kind of going to interview him, which is strange for him because he usually does the interviewing, and we'll mention why I say that in just a moment. But would you welcome Rob Fairless? Would you come up here and share with me? We'll give this a try. Hey, have you sat at this stool? He don't fall off the stool, do you think? He is, he looked me up not too long ago. I think he messaged me on, no, you emailed me and shared some things that's going on in his life, and also thanked me for looking back. But the reason, we'll get into that in just a moment, is he shares about some of that. But the reason I said about interviewing is he has this, what he calls a radio show, right? And that's been going on for some time, and so he gets to interview himself a lot of personalities. And so in the past, there's been some famous people, right? Who all have you interviewed in the past, some that they made?
In the past few months, maybe, like the head of NASA, the Navy SEAL who eliminated Osama bin Laden. Let's see, the founder of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Some of the high-profile Christians were all high-profile Christians, by the way. But some of them, you know, like Ray Comfort. I don't know if you know him. He's got like 500,000, followers on Facebook. J. Warner Wallace, last week, he wrote Cold Case Christianity. He was in God's Not Dead. And Frank Turek, he's another high-profile Christian apologist. And a lot of, Grammy Award winners, Pulitzer Prize Award winners, gold medal Olympians, actors, actresses, stuff like that.
Well, I noticed you switched here. In the past, you had a lot of stars and things like that, but I noticed more recently you've had all these Christian authors and such on there, and that kind of goes with how God seems to be changing your life. So before we get there, though, let's go back a little further, and back in time. At one time, I pastored in a little church in Karnak. And that's your area of Illinois, right?
Neck of the woods. Yes, sir.
And let's go back to maybe that time, where you were there, and how maybe we connected at one time, and what was going on in your life at that time before. You kind of raised around church, but what was going on in your life at that time?
Okay, let's go back to when I was around 28-ish. I was raised in a church family. My mom is a very devout Christian, always has been. Taught Sunday school, she currently is the custodian of the Karnak United Methodist Church. Just to let you know what kind of person she is. She's a Christian, and she's always pointed me towards Christ, though I didn't go in that direction growing up as a kid. Once I hit teen years, I kind of left the church. I kind of left the faith, and I even questioned the faith. And I don't know how you want me to lead into this. Do you want me to kind of just tell what happened?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
All right. I had a good job. I was working for it's called the Laboratory Corporation of America. What I did was I was like basically a courier, and I would go around and I would pick up lab samples and stuff like that for this company. But I was a single man. I was a partier on the weekends, but I did my job through the week. I'm not proud to say it, but I would do basically whatever drug there was available on weekends. That's just what it was. It's in the area I lived, it's not something that you could go out and get whatever you wanted. You just did what was available because it's not such a big area. I'm not proud of that, but that's what happened. Got involved with methamphetamine. Back in 2001, methamphetamine was just starting to get the notoriety that it has right now. You could go out and you could purchase the pseudoephedrine at will, not get checked for it or anything like that. So on my route, when I was working for LabCorp, I would stop off at the convenience stores in all the little areas that sold pseudoephedrine, and I would buy these boxes of pseudoephedrine, and I would resell these boxes of pseudoephedrine to get my in return I would get, the drug. And it almost came to the point where I was getting close to addiction. I can honestly say I really wasn't addicted because I was a functioning, I worked, I went and did my job Monday through Friday, but as soon as I punched out on Friday, it was like, let's hit the meth, let's party. One day, I was, on a weekend, a buddy of mine came over and said, hey, what are you doing? I said, hey, I'm going to go get some groceries. Hey, can I come with you? And a buddy of mine who I'd never met, or I didn't know that well, I knew who he was. And can we get some pills? I said, and can you buy some pills too? I told him no. Something was telling me not to do it that day, but I said no, but he was very persuasive, and he was a friend of mine, so I said, sure, I'll do that. Long story short, went to Walmart, came out of Walmart, police were waiting on me. I was taken to the McCracken County Jail, where I was in the holding cell, and they told me that I had a $50,000 bail. So if you're any way privy to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, they don't have a 10% law. You know what I mean? Where you can get out, on 10% of the bail. So I knew that, I wasn't getting out. And I know I might be rambling, but give me just a second here. It was the hardest thing, or one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Call my mom as a 28-year-old man and tell her, hey, Mom, guess where I am? Be proud of your son. He's arrested for methamphetamine. It was the hardest thing. And moms can be moms. I thought she was going to holler at me, scream at me, whatever. But she was a Christian woman. She comforted me in her words while I was in there. And I went into the cell, scared to death. Because if you've never been in jail, or if you have been in jail, you know the thoughts that can go through your mind when you're arrested and you're being incarcerated. The things that might happen to you while you're in jail. Violence, unnatural things. I luckily overheard the biggest man in my jail cell, the one that I could tell nobody messed with, say he was from Mound City, which was right near the neck of my woods, which was a blessing. His name was Isaiah. I became friends with Isaiah, and nobody messed with me in jail because of Isaiah, right? I would call my mom and I would tell her, how I was doing each day. And there was this Bible. I know I'm babbling a little bit. There's this Bible in the jail cell that it was been used by a bunch of people because the cover was torn off and the pages were missing. It was like the cell block Bible. And I picked up that Bible and I started reading it. And I was like, wow, I really started to understand it while I was in jail. But still, the pages were missing. The cover was torn off. I wanted more information. So I called my mom and I said, hey, can you get me a Bible brought in here? Right? And Mom said, well, I'll talk to the church and see what they say. Well, a couple days, a week, whatever comes by, and Mom calls me back and seen the movies, or have you been in jail before? Hope not, but you sit down and you got a phone here, you're talking through a plate glass window, right? And your visitor sits on the other side. Well, in walks this young pastor. It's this guy right here. And he brings me this Bible, and he sits down, and he talks with me, and he tells me God loves me, no matter where I'm at the moment, God loves me. And I give my life to Christ right there in that jail cell, talking over a phone to a plate glass window with Pastor Joey. Right? You want to say anything, or you want me to continue?
Keep going.
All right. You might want to hold that applause. I get out of jail because I have a hearing date. You know, I'd never been in trouble before. They convicted me of a felony. I'm a felon. They told me that I had to go through 90 days of Narcotics Anonymous classes. If I miss one day, my butt's back in jail. Right? After 90 days, I got to go 5 days a week for 6 months. I miss one day, my butt's back in jail. Now, I'm assuming that when a judge tells somebody that who's a felon for a drug charge, he's probably expecting that, you know, I'm going to see this guy again. You know, I'm going to see this guy. Little did he know that God had a plan for me. Little did I know God had a plan for me, right? So I get out and I go through all the meetings. I do everything that I was supposed to do, but I really don't. Even though I gave my life to Christ in that jail, I didn't start attending any churches. You know what I mean? And I can't say that I was perfect. I can't say that I didn't backslide and do some drugs. I'd be lying to this church if I told you I did. Or I didn't. But the only difference was that I had a knowledge of right and wrong. I knew what I was doing was wrong. And I started getting, you know, the conviction of, Rob, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing this. You're smarter than this. Well, time goes by. I get a job, you know, Dippin' Dots. I find my wife, Amber. She was also an employee at Dippin' Dots at the time, and we fall in love and we get married. You know, I get a little house, a little shotgun shack, and me and her, you know, 5 or 6 years pass, and everything is perfect, except that we can't have kids. It's like, what's going on, man? We've been married for 5 years, been seeing each other for a couple years before that. Why haven't we had children? And so we went and had some tests done and found out that I had a problem. It was my fault that we couldn't have kids. So they said we need to have more tests done. So I had more tests done. Test after test, went to Louisville, did everything. A doctor even said to me, hey, Robert, there's an experimental surgery that I can do on you. No promises. It doesn't matter if it works or not. You know, you're still going to have to pay the bill. Of course, you know, I would do anything to have a kid with my wife. And I did the surgery. A couple months later, later, they retested me. It made me worse. You know, my wife, being the wife that she is, you know, Robert, it doesn't bother me if we don't have children. We're still going to be husband and wife. And even though she said that, I knew that it bothered her. It bothered me that I couldn't give my wife a kid. So, fast forward one day. My sister calls me out of the blue. My sister Cammie, who is also a devout Christian, said, hey, Robert, do you want to go to a church service with me? We have a guest pastor from Africa named Ben. Would you like to come? Now, granted, I haven't been to church. I'm talking years. Sure. I just agreed that day to go. So I went to the church service. My mom was there, my stepdad, my sister, her family. My wife didn't go. She works for Honeywell Corporation in Metropolis, and she happened to be locked out at that time, and they have to stand out on the road every now and again. But anyway, I was sitting there in that church service, and pastor started speaking, and I would be lying to you if it wasn't one of these things, you know, where a pastor, like, I can feel it in here. Someone in here is trying to get pregnant and just can't do it. Wasn't one of those things. He just happened to mention the word pregnancy. So naturally, that got me thinking about the situation that me and my wife was in. And at that moment, I kind of just zoned out, and I told the pastor, or I just blocked the pastor out of my head completely.
That happens a lot around here. Keep going.
Well, I'm just going to leave that alone.
So you're in this church service, you had this missionary, and he was sharing, and that word just caught your attention, right?
Yeah, just the word pregnancy. The word pregnancy. So I zoned out, started praying. And I asked God in that prayer, and I've never prayed so hard in my life, with more sincerity. If I should leave my wife, I was asking God if I should leave my wife so that one day she might meet somebody and able to have children. In church, what happened next never happened before and has never happened since. I got this feeling in my body, can't explain it in words, but it scared me. I was looking around like this, like what's going on. I was adjusting myself in the seat, trying to fight it, but the more I fought it, the stronger it got. I leaned over in the pew, hiding my face. I didn't want anybody to see me. I didn't want anybody to know what's going on. I was embarrassed, tears flowing out of my eyes like someone just threw water in my face. I couldn't stop the tears. I couldn't stop any. My mom sitting beside me, rubbing my back, trying to comfort me. Robert, are you okay? And I'm sitting there shaking my head, yeah, but she's like, you need to go to the altar. No, I didn't need to go to the altar. What was happening to me was happening right there in that pew. 5 minutes later, everything calmed down. As soon as church service was over, I was the first one out that door. I didn't want anyone talking to me. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to ask anybody ask me what happened. Are you okay? What was up with that? I was the new guy there, you know. I was the new guy that freaked out in church. I didn't tell my wife. Well, about 5 weeks later, I get a text message from my wife with a picture. I had 3 pregnancy sticks. All positive. Right? So I was like, okay, this is a joke. This is a joke, you know, this is somebody else's sticks or whatever. She's just joking with me. I call her. No, it's not a joke. I clock out, go home, we rush to the hospital. They do all the tests to confirm it. She's pregnant. And they tell us, you know, hey, we ask her, I mean, how old is the baby? How far along is she? And they told me, 5 weeks. So I'm sitting there, you know, like, 5 weeks, yeah, 5 weeks. And then we're like, wait a minute. What I thought was an experience, because that was the exact week that I had that experience, which now I know was a healing. God healed me that day. I didn't deserve it. I did not deserve it. I still to this day don't know why.
You got a beautiful child. You have more than, you have just one?
No, we have 2 children now.
You have 2 children now.
Yeah. Have 2 children now. You know,
amen. Yeah. Amen. Fantastic. There's a lot in there. A lot of questions I could ask. But when your mindset, when you knew you were doing wrong, but you know, what brought you to the Lord? Was it just a steady conviction, a steady dose of Christ, and people sharing with you that finally took you to that point? Knowing there's people out there right now that have relatives out there and they have lost loved ones, I think it's good for us to get into the mind of a little bit of what keeps them from God and keeps them doing the things they were doing. I know that's a hard question to answer probably. Can you share just a little more about what was in your mind and heart? Why you didn't turn to God? Do you think it wasn't real? sounds like you had maybe a respect for God in some ways, but you didn't feel like giving your heart. Was it just all self-centeredness?
I didn't think it was real.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I just didn't think it was. I just didn't think it was real.
To you as a religion, a thing you had to go to. How did you see it? How did you see church and religion? Did you just see it?
I thought. I mean, like a lot of people, I thought there was a God, but no one is smart enough to know who that God is. Right? I mean, I'm going to be honest up here. I'm giving my testimony. I'm going to be honest with you people out here. That's how I felt. But I gave God a chance that day. You understand? I sincerely, and I prayed since then. I pray now. But that prayer that I prayed that day was unlike any prayer I've ever prayed before. I had done everything I possibly could to give my wife a kid. I did the surgery. I did everything. And God answered my prayer that day.